so on and so on, and so on and so on.
Well, hello. I know it's been a while, but I'm still here. Welcome to the Shakespeare Show. I hope that everybody is doing well, those of you that are here. I've been so busy with a whole bunch of stuff, but I need to, obviously, make sure that I do my streams. They are something that brings me great joy. Oh, thank you. Oh, you're so kind, Omega Star, and thank you so much, Omega Star, for your resub. 8 months. Wow, how time flies. How time flies. So, what do I have in store for today? Quite simple, but also very, very complex. We're going to be going over and historically contextualizing what's going on in the eastern Congo, and we'll also be looking at pardon me, this person who's kind of been, I've seen him being brought up into a lot of podcasts, to where he kind of is like the Tijuana explainer, right? And I want to deconstruct that. I want to really deconstruct that because, anytime that there's someone that is like, I'm one of the good ones, it needs to be explored a little bit more. Again, not saying anything negative. I'm just saying that, we should look into what he says and, all of the stuff. Third thing that I plan on going into today, but I guess we'll see, is talking about Malay's whole Libra thing. I normally don't talk about cryptocurrency because, one, they're not currencies. I mean, that's just a fact. In fact, even crypto bros themselves, like the ones that actually know about it, will tell you it's not a currency. So that is not. So none of these things are, as it were, political topics, but are, generally speaking, either social, economic, or very much historical ones, right? So, besides that, I think we can get started. Let me just turn off the music. Although it's good, I wish there was a way to like integrate music more. And also make sure to tell me, for those of you that are here, right, if you can, like, if my audio is okay, because, you know, I think y'all know that every once in a while I sort of have an issue with that. So, first, we are going to talk about what on earth is going on outside. I'm sure people are going to think I live. There's a buzzing. A buzzing. Let me see here. There's a buzzing. A buzzing, you say? Knock knock. Hello, Cakey Inc. Welcome in, welcome in. We'll see if that stays, because I have the noise suppression up to where it usually is. So I don't know. It might be something, but I'm not exactly sure what it might be that I would have to change. At the moment, anyway. We'll see. So we're not gonna watch this whole video because it does go into like what happened in Rwanda in 1994. So we're only going to watch the explanation insofar as it talks about Congo and why the colonial boundaries and all of these different things, right, why they are all important. And I will make sure to also have the subtitles. Yes, yes. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I need to take it off of this, so that way it fits with the, there we go. Okay, so here we go.
Gaining ground in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The rebel militia has captured the largest city in the east and is the major player in a coalition that wants to topple the government. The group said...
So, first, what does M23 mean? It is actually a date, Mars 23, right? Which was, it's most likely a mic feedback. It's consistent and low volume and tone tolerable, but there. Oh, I wonder why that might be. Is this better, Gothic Spunny? Did it go away, or is it still there? Yeah, the buzzing sound. It's gone? Okay, good, good. Okay. Yeah, I see what it was now. Okay. Sorry, it's because, like, before, my headphones also had the sound thing attached. And now I have a separate microphone, you know. Because, you know, slowly but surely we are, you know, advancing. So... one thing I want to go into just really quickly is that M23, like I said, stands for March 23rd, right? Which refers to a specific, you know, essentially when there was supposed to be a certain peace brought into place. But what is more is that M23 is a Tutsi, right? Rebel group. Now, why is this important? Well, in the history of Central Africa in particular, especially vis-a-vis, you know, colonialism, these distinctions, right, were ones that were made by the colonists, frankly. Frankly speaking, there was never, from the historical documentary evidence, there was never anything set in stone that made a Hutu different from a Tutsi, and indeed and then also there's also a third group called the Twa, which are the indigenous people before the two. Oh my goodness! Hello, Moano. Welcome in. Wow, 6 months. 6 months. Amazing. I'm so happy I was able to get a stream in. I felt like I haven't streamed in ages, and I felt bad. I will admit, I felt bad. What does this mean? It means that what ended up happening is after the events in Rwanda in 1994, you had a lot of Hutus, right, fearful that the Tutsi government, right, would essentially enact revenge upon them. So you had about 1 million people, if I remember correctly, essentially leave Rwanda and flee into the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which I will just refer to as the Congo from here on out. And this is a group that has committed many war crimes, right? The M23, and indeed there were people who committed the genocide in Rwanda, right? Again, we're talking about history here, that again found refuge, so to speak, in the Congo, right? And were thus never prosecuted. But I should also note that also a lot of the very high-ranking people also found refuge in France in particular, and also Belgium. Well, I mean, that is one of those, going back to the distinctions, right? The distinction between the two was something imposed upon, right? Imposed upon the Rwandans, right? And also the people, there. In particular, there was never an idea of them being two separate ethnic groups, right? That is something imposed from without, right? From a European colonial perspective. And what I want to stress here is that not only is it a colonial perspective, but the supposed differentiation, right, between Hutu and Tutsi was that they saw them as members of two different races, right? And you might say, what do you mean, two different races? Well, as we know, there is the black race, right, so to speak, right? That's one that's been historically constructed over time. But there's this other race that the Europeans, particularly the Germans, who first were the colonizers of Rwanda and Burundi in particular, and also Tanzania, and then later the Belgians, right, thought of the Hamitic race. Now, what is this, right? If you know the story in the Bible about Noah, right, he had 3 sons, right? He had Japheth, Sem, and Ham. And so the belief is that Ham, right? Yes, please make sure to boop the like button and subscribe on YouTube. So Ham, right, is supposedly the originator of this other race, right, which is closer to Europeans than, again, it's supposedly scientific racism, right? I mean, it's quote unquote, right, as they would have called it back then. And so it was through that they decided to assign people, right? I mean, they brought up the calipers, everything, to designate who was a Hutu and who was a Tutsi, right? And it was then, right, that those identifications became, as it were, etched in stone, right? So the Belgians would give each group, right, or each person had an identity card that at the top left-hand corner, if I remember correctly, said Hutu, Tutsi, Twa. Right, because those are the three major, and I'm talking about specifically Rwanda. However, obviously we know that colonial boundaries, right, don't really correspond to the ethnic groups, right, and different cultural groups, right, that also pertain to those, what we would call an ethnic group, and nationalities, right, that live in these areas, right. And no place is perhaps a better example of this than, perhaps, the continent of Africa. But this idea of them being different races and of them having different origins, right, came back to bite the Tutsis, the Belgians, by giving them some privileges, right, by saying that they had, by racializing those privileges, right, effectively created a minority of people, right, that essentially were subservient to the colonizers, right. So, after the Belgians left in 1960, thereabouts, the Tutsis were in a very dire state because they were a minority. The Catholic Church and the French and the Belgians said, if there is to be a government, it should obviously be made by the majority of the people, right? But that meant that would be a Hutu majority government. But again, they were the ones that created those classifications, right, so to speak. They're the ones that imposed them. Because historically we know that those typically referred to, much like how and I'm making just a quick analogy, much like how the Indian caste system back in history in its earlier ways was mainly a distinction of what type of labor you did, so too what were Hutu and Tutsi. It was whether you were a herder, like you had, or rather you had cattle, or whether you were a farmer. That was the distinction between the two. Hello, Bad Lefty. It's so good to see you. So, how does this play out now, right? This colonial 19th century, Berlin Conference, the slicing up of Africa. How does this all play out now? Well, like I said, 1994 happens. And then you have the movement of about 1 million people into the Democratic Republic of Congo, which itself has not been in a very stable state on purpose, right? And you also have these militant groups. There are about 100 of them, right, that range from M23, right, that are Tutsi and backed by the Rwandan government. Some are banked. Oh, you're so sweet, Bad Lefty. Some are backed by the Burundian government. Some are backed by the Ugandan government. There are even some Islamist ones there in the mix, right? And they're fighting for many different things, right? A lot of them have very similar goals in one sense, right? To capture territory, but it's mainly for access to the vast mineral wealth that the east of Congo has, right? Like there you have coltan, you have cobalt, you have, you have gold, you have just a lot of stuff, right? A lot of stuff. And because of that, it has sort of escalated a lot of the things that are going on right now, where after the Second Congo War, which is often called the Great War of Africa or the World War of Africa, because it literally involved so many countries, there are some people saying that this might spark the Third Congo War. I don't know. I really hope that it doesn't. I'll put it like that. In my estimation, I think that it would be best to not have something like that happen. But also, I think that just looking at the history of everything, right? The fact that M23 is saying that they are going to march now from the provinces of North and South Kivu, which again are on the very eastern part, and the video will get to it. I just want to make sure you have enough context going in. That they're going to essentially march 1,000 miles to the west to reach Kinshasa. I don't know. That's a huge question mark. Will they do it? Can they do it? Right? What will happen along the way? I don't know. But it is important to recognize that. Hello, Philippe. It's so good to see you. Yes, I know. I've been so busy lately. I haven't gotten to streaming, but I'm gonna be streaming. So again, right? This M23 is backed by the Rwandan government, and so they say that it's for the they often will invoke self-defense. So just to keep in mind, DRC and Kivu in particular should by right be the richest place on earth given all the resources. Right, in a just world, right? In a better world, right? In a world where we didn't live under this horrific imperialist, neo-colonial form of capitalism that we live under now, Congo would be a very, a place that would be very, in a just world. I know, it would be, yeah. And remember, I apologize. I just realized now that y'all weren't seeing the video, but if anything, that probably, I'll go back a little bit. But I will say one thing. It actually helped that it wasn't on screen because I didn't see one thing that showed up, so. So, if you've been in my Discord, which by the way, do make sure to join the Rainbow Castle by exclamation Discord. Otherwise, a mod will be more than happy to put it in either one of the chats, either on Twitch or on YouTube. Is that I mentioned that a project that I plan to do in the future, right, and have started preliminary research for. At one point, I actually wanted to not only go particularly to Rwanda, but I did want to go to the Congo. And in the place that I said that I was going to cross over, right, and sort of go to the UN headquarters that they have there, was in Goma, which is the third largest city in the Congo, right? Kinshasa being the first, right, etc. So that's something to keep in mind. This is the third largest city. It was under essentially a full, like essentially under siege, to the point, and so like water service was restricted to the point where this lake right here, Lake Kivu, people had to literally get all of their water for everything that they need, right? To drink, to bathe, to cook, etc. from this lake, because water service was cut, electricity was cut, internet was cut, and as you can see, right, this is Rwanda. It's a fairly small country. It's about the size of Belgium. Burundi is also a very small country. The country next to them with this like straight line border here is Lake Victoria on the right. The southern country is Tanzania. The northern country is Uganda, right? So you can see, right, that this is very, a complex network of different borders that correspond to different colonial empires, right? So that's another thing to keep in mind, right? Why this is so... Is there a music in the background? I'm not sure. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I just got something on Throne. Let's see what it is. You hear a ticking sound? That might also be my fan, because it's kind of making a ticking sound. Because it's old. I wonder what it could be. Let's see here. It's not showing me. My fan makes that sound too. Yeah, it's like... Yeah, it's just old. Okay. Usually it would say it in the chat. Like, it used to pop up in the chat and say, like, this person has done this. Oh, you know what? It might say it in Discord. Maybe. No, it has not. Never mind. Never mind. Oh well. Like, I see it. I see that something has been updated, but it doesn't want to update it for me for whatever reason. It's okay. Well, thank you so much to whomever donated. I appreciate it. Truly, it means a lot to me. I still am very amazed at the fact that people are even here watching and chatting, let alone would support me in any way. So I thank you all, and particularly you who have donated to my throne. Thank you. So Bukavu, I believe they've already taken over Bukavu now, but now they are essentially saying, right, and you see, right, south, this is Bukavu means that now they are along the Burundian border. But now they are going to go west all the way across to Kinshasa, which is around here. This is about 1,000 miles. So I don't think that's going to be easy. But, you know. Oh my god. Hello, full of nicks. It's good to see you. But, anyways. Oh my gosh. I stand corrected. 1,600. Okay, I love how peaceful this place Is the video muted? No, it's not muted. It shouldn't be muted. Oh no, now there's another. Let's see.
To make ground. But how? Well,
Better?
although they officially deny it, the government of Rwanda is reportedly providing M23 with money, weapons and training. And according to the United Nations, thousands of Rwandan troops are fighting alongside the rebels. Why would Rwanda help a rebel militia? Because their government and M23 are formed by people from the Tutsi ethnic group. In order to understand the fighting in the DRC today, we have to talk about the Tutsis and another group, the Hutus. And we need to talk about this map of Africa, which
Okay, so, well, while I try to... It's better? Okay, good. I swear, it's always the audio. I don't know what it is. Like... I don't know. But, yeah. I've mostly seen the, well, I mean, and that's because, good. And that's mostly because of the fact, right, that there has been, what happened? What's too loud? Oh, did it? I don't... Oh, super loud. Oh. Is it better now? Or is it worse? Is it better? Worse? Better? Okay, good. It's better now? Okay, good. Sorry. Again, I literally just turned on one other thing. I was like, oh, maybe this is the problem. I apologize. I didn't mean for it to get super loud. Oh my gosh. My apologies. I didn't realize that was gonna happen. Okay, good. I won't touch that thing ever again. I don't know what it is, but it's horrific. So yeah, again, this is what happens when you have colonial powers, right, deciding the boundaries of entire countries, right, and making them function like the post-Westphalian nation state, right? Yeah, I'm so sorry, I apologize. Right, you have so many different ethnic groups, so many different cultural groups, right, that transcend, right, any of these invisible lines in the ground, right, that were only there to serve, right, the colonial power's interest, right? That, again, when we look at the Democratic Republic of the Congo, right, you have to remember that, one, the way it, I mean, like, one thing is the way how the Belgian king, Leopold II, even got that colony was literally because he couldn't, like, King Leopold II, right, horrific person, he really wanted a colony, right? Like, he was an active, like, person that wanted to colonize, right? Hello, McGoggles, welcome in. But nobody, essentially, in his view, right, there was nowhere left to colonize, right? And he also wanted to be somewhere, right, where the British wouldn't get in his way, because of course, you know, they had the largest empire. You know, the last thing they're going to do is let a country like Belgium, right? So he holds these conferences, invites all of these famous explorers, right, you know, and tries to have his colonization of the Congo be considered as a humanitarian thing, right? He even used, right? Like the fact that there were two organizations that sounded very alike, right, to promote his colonization of the Congo. I'm not even joking. Like, this is literally like what he did. Like, he knew, like, oh, these things sound alike, so people won't notice that they're actually two different things, and so they'll keep supporting the one that had all of these like academics. Having a colony where like having your own spaceship company today, yeah, pretty much, as well as your, also many other things too, right? So again, when we look at this map here, which roughly corresponds, right, we see that like here in Rwanda, now it's pretty monocolored because they have done this reconciliation project by having the Hutu Tutsi distinction, so to speak, feed into just a common Rwandan identity, right? Essentially saying it was the colonists, right, that they're the ones that imposed this on us, so the way how we recover from what occurred, right, is by undoing that, right? So
roughly shows the historic distribution of ethnic groups across the continent. Compare that to this, a map of how the continent...
Again, you have German East Africa, right? And you'll notice that here is where Rwanda would be, and here is where Burundi would be, right? After World War One, the German colonies go away, right? Britain gets some of the Cameroon. France gets another part of the Cameroons. Togoland becomes French, as in becomes a French colony, right? The Rwanda and Burundi become part of Belgium, of the Belgian colony, right? German Southwest Africa becomes part of the Union of South Africa, which still was colonized by the British, and then German East Africa, now without Rwanda and Burundi, becomes Tanzania. But it's important to remember, right, that and another thing too is, like, remember, Spain still has colonies here. In fact, it's the only country that still has like a land border on the African continent. Spain has multiple land borders in Africa, mainly up here. Of course, people say, "Oh, well, they're so small," but still, they go back a long time and blah blah blah, right? But anyway,
had been carved up by European imperial powers by 1914. At that point, around 90% of Africa was under European control. Today, the DRC is surrounded by 9 other countries, and ethnic communities still live on both sides of the borders. Since gaining independence from Belgium in 1960, this massive country, home to more than 250 ethnic groups, has...
One thing about it gaining independence from Belgium is the fact that, and again, if you would like to partake, because I've still been keeping up with having our weekly movie night, community night. We always do a movie. We watched a very wonderful movie, and I know that Full of Nicks would definitely, remember, right? Soundtrack to a coup d'etat, and also we watched. We are going to watch Lumumba, right? But the point being that that independence was one that was very conditional, right? Like, this is why there have been a lot of major issues that essentially have happened from without, right? That is to say, from outside of the Congo in, right? Because the entire land mass of the Congo, one was not allowed in many ways to stay whole, right? Because you had the Republic of Katanga, which is this sort of southeastern part with the tail, right? With its capital in what was then called Elizabethville, or Elizabethville, right? And then you also had the mining Republic of South Kasai, right? And eventually, you have other parts that essentially declare effective independence, so to speak, right? But it's through this, right? And in fact, it's actually because of Katanga that, I don't know if people remember Dag Hammarskjöld, right? But he was the General Secretary of the United Nations, and infamously or famously, however you want to put it, when his flight to try to resolve the Katanga problem, so to speak, it actually was fell out of the sky. Some people say that it was deliberate and that the plane was shot out of the sky. Some people say because a Rhodesian report said that it was because of pilot error, but we don't know. We just don't know. Hello, Neurorite. It's so nice to see you. Welcome in, welcome in. The crowns were replaced by capitalists, indeed. And again, one thing to keep in mind is those two states, Katanga and Kasai, were there to be principally because they were supported by Belgian mining interests, right? One of them being Union Minière, right, which is in Katanga, right, because they still wanted to keep extracting the minerals from the Congo, right? And in fact, there even was a time when the Belgian settler colonists, right, that lived in that part of the Congo prior to its independence, right, fled to neighboring countries, and they, obviously made a big deal about that, like, oh, we have a refugee crisis. Of course, but it's but essentially you also have the betrayal and the tragic ending of the life of Patrice Lumumba, right, who, really wanted to, I see him as such a tragic figure insofar as he represented a desire to keep the Congo united and to instead use the forge, right, via that union, right, the fact that of their situation, to create something more, right, to create something better. But unfortunately, his administration was cut short because effectively, even though the United States and Canada and other people sort of denied him help, right, to make sure that he could keep the Congo as one country, and he even went to the United Nations, because after the entire, the West had essentially told him no, that they would help him, and he then went to the Soviet Union and they said yes, then the United States became against Patrice Lumumba. And essentially, from what we understand now, is that Mobutu, who later became the dictator of, and it's very interesting too, because he, in many ways, describes things the way how Dugin would. I don't know if people know Alexander Dugin from Russia, but like when he says that like Russians have their own unique Russian truth, right? And that, you can't understand it if you're like a Westerner or whatever. He kind of said that when it comes to democracy, but Patrice Lumumba, like I said, his life was brought to an unfortunate end. In fact, he was over here in Stanleyville, if I remember correctly, as it was called then. Now it's Lumumbashi. But regardless, because he got help from the Soviet Union, then that's when you had, and this is what I find very interesting about this, is that the UN was allowed, after Dag Hammarskjöld was passed, U Thant, who was the next Secretary General of the UN, he actually put UN, blue helmets on the ground that actually had the ability to fight. They could actually fight, unlike the UN and so many other places, like along the Israel Lebanon border, along the Israel Syria border, in the Congo, when it's against, then they can use force. So
struggled to build itself into a strong, cohesive state. It's seen leaders murdered, deposed, and has been scarred by numerous conflicts. Which brings us back to the Tutsis and the Hutus, two ethnic communities that have been in conflict for decades. The Tutsi ethnic...
Whoa. Okay. Have to be careful, so...
atrocity. The Tutsis gained power in Rwanda and forced approximately 2 million Hutus to flee across the border to...
So again, so it's even higher. The number's even higher because we don't actually know the true number. So people say between 1 million and 2 million, but I will accept 2 million. I think that's acceptable as a number. And this was when it was called Zaire. But yes, about 2 million Hutus were exiled, or But again, a lot of the people that went as well were also people that perpetrated the Rwandan genocide. That is one of the big problems with this, right? Oh, thank you so much for shouting out Neuroriot. Yes, do make sure to check Neuroriot out. And so because of this, right, you do have people that say that a lot of the militias, I mean, again, this is 1994, right? We're talking about 1994, right? That's very much within living memory for most people that I know, right? And in fact, I actually have, like, the original. I'm talking about, like, the, like this here, the Human Rights Watch Arms Project. This was back in the day before Human Rights Watch really, because it used to have what was called Africa Watch, right? I have the 3 reports, right, that it published in 1994, right? One in January, which is its longest report, right, speaking about who is funding, right, the Rwandans, right, the Hutu power government, right, and then the list of countries is Egypt, France, South Africa, apartheid South Africa. So this would have been before 1994. So this would have been, in the Elon years, as some people call them, and other sources, right? There's also was weapons from Uganda, etc. A lot of funding from the diaspora as well, particularly from Hutus, but also the role of foreign troops, which were French troops. The French, in particular, were like there's a show we've been watching called Black Earth Rising, right? When we have our community night every Friday night, and we've watched about 2 episodes of it so far. But one of the things that comes out in the 3rd episode is that they have essentially a person who's essentially what you have is a huge cover up that happens, right? And the reason why is because the French government did not want to admit, right, that it was actually advising the Habyarimana regime, right? So the Habyarimana regime was the government that initially was going to sign a peace treaty called the Arusha Accords in the city of Arusha in Tanzania, which coincidentally is where the International Tribunal for Rwanda, right, the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda is at now. Now it's the mechanism, as it's called. Yes, indeed, the French were there advising, and in fact, it was the French, the Church, the Catholic Church, and the Anglican Church, right? And this is stuff that's, again, this is from my research. That again, even here, if I were to read it right off of the first report, which came out by Human Rights Watch, this is volume 6, issue 1, January 1994, right? I mean, it's even written in this, like, look at this font, like, just look at this font. This is font, you know. Oh, thank you so much, Cat Pig. Yes, I hope that you're doing well as well. Is that another thing with human rights things is that there's often a lot of what's it called, appendices, right? Because it shows that it bought $6 million in arms from Egypt, $5.9 million US, using US dollars, from South Africa, and yeah. So anyway, so this is now we're gonna go into, right, some of the more historical aspects, right, to sort of get more of a context for what's going on, right? So a U.S. diplomat is quoted, a Western diplomat. So Kigali is the capital of Rwanda, and what he said is, quote, "The country, that is to say Rwanda, is flooded with weapons. 2 beers will get you 1 grenade." This is font. I mean, it's even written in this, like, look at this font. Like, just look at this font. This is font, you know. Yes, it's true. That is font. That is true font. Thank you so much, Philippe, for that. I appreciate it. So, Rwanda, and I'm quoting now from the first report of 1994 in January from Human Rights Watch, from back in the day, because again, my next large project is going to be looking at the history of all of this stuff vis-a-vis Central Africa, because you can't talk about it in a vacuum. I mean, I do have to talk about Rwanda specifically, but I can't ignore the Congo, right? I can't ignore Burundi. I can't ignore Tanzania. I can't ignore Uganda, because they're all, you know what I mean? They all matter, all right? They are all important. So, it describes the situation. So remember, I'm trying to historicize this and put us in the scene here. This is 1994, January. Quote, "Rwanda is one of Africa's poorest countries. Most of its 7.2 million people are by tradition subsistence farmers or cattle herders. That used to be the original distinction between Hutu and Tutsi. If you were a farmer, you were a Hutu. If you were a herder, you were a Tutsi. It was the Belgians that racialized it. Oh, I bet. Trust me, it's one of those things that, you know, like, it's one of those things where, you know, being both a historian and also someone who, you know, also works in genocide studies is like, when you have to listen to people's testimony or, you know, etc., right? It's like one of those things, like, how can people not be willing to stop this, right? Why were they not willing to stop this, right? Why did 2 weeks in, why did Madeleine Albright at the UN get rid of 90% of the UN soldiers that were in Rwanda? Why? Because that's what she did. That's what the United States did 2 weeks into the genocide. Remember, it lasted 100 days. So 14 days in, Madeleine Albright, representing the United States, said you have to take 90% of the soldiers out of Rwanda. So just want to add that in there, right? How can people just let this go, right? I don't you know, it's swept under the rug so easily, right? And it's, yeah, like your friend, yeah, it was not an ethnic or racial distinction. It was Europeans that made it into one, right? They brought their racial ideologies into and said, you have to live by this too, right? You have to live by this too. And now we have to work to undo all of this, right? We have to work to undo all of these things, right? And it is something that will take a very long time because it's become so ingrained in our way of thinking, right? And that's one of those things that, you know, why indeed, and it didn't happen overnight. This was seen coming. Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, this is January, right? It didn't start until April. It lasted from April to July. So in January, 3 months before, they're already saying something's going to happen, right? Western diplomats are already saying this country is flooded with weapons. Hello, Fina Colada. Welcome in. It's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So, smaller in size than Belgium, slightly smaller. Rwanda does not have enough land to go around. We've heard this before, right? Oh, it doesn't have enough land to go around. The country has almost no industry, few natural resources, and has long been dependent on foreign development aid. Good, I'm glad to hear that you're having a good weekend. This was something that, again, was very much untrue, right? One of the greatest issues was that the colonial power Belgium, right, never developed anything except for the mode of extraction from Rwanda. That was all that they had, right? So they had trains, but they only had trains that went to tea plantations, that went to mining operations, etc., etc. And again, it actually doesn't have a lot of natural resources in the way the Eastern Congo does, right? So there's that as well. And they had no industry, right? Almost no industry. Again, that was a choice by the colonial powers to not develop their colonies, right? And of course, we know why that is. In October 1990, so now we're going 4 years before this report, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, le RPF, or the RPF, sorry, because otherwise it would be FPR, launched an invasion from neighboring Uganda aimed at overthrowing the Rwandan government. Okay. This was the same reason why the U.S. forced or pressured whatever the partial UN withdrawal. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. No, I got what you meant. Again, they're saying, it makes it highly sus that Rwanda signed a huge mineral deals with UAE. Yeah, no, you're right. It is the UAE, despite not having said minerals. Yes, because, and this is something that this is something that actually has been like in the show that we're watching again, Black Earth Rising. There it says, well, all of the minerals, right? All of the minerals that leave Rwanda are certified, right? Like, not, they are free from exploitation, blah, 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 right? Like, the other horrific things, slavery, etc., right? And so, again, what you have is effectively, because of, like, the rebels, right? Because they're able to go across borders, because they're backed by one government, right? And also a government that has, I've heard this so much about Rwanda that it's like, yeah, it does have some, but it's very few. But it definitely does not have it on the scale to how much it's exported out, right? Especially not in so quick of a time frame. Yeah. Oh, yeah, tin. Yeah. Like, I remember when England was known for its tin production. Like, in Roman times, England was important for tin. But anyway. Still. But that's a good point. Yeah. 7th largest producer of tungsten and then tin. But for all, like, for Tesla, right? This is what I always bring back. If you want stuff that goes for your cell phones, for, particularly, the smart revolution or whatever the tech people want to call it now, the green revolution, etc., right? It requires cobalt, coltan, etc., right? Lithium. And so it getting moved, right, from where it's in abundance, right, and is exploited, right, using very horrific methods of labor, and then they come into a country that's often cited as being the cleanest country in Africa, the most the most business-friendly country in Africa, etc., right? You begin to see, right, like those contradictions that, I've heard the phrase de-developed by Europeans rather than underdeveloped. It's interesting that you say that, because that there's actually a book. It's written by a Mexican, I believe he's a sociologist, but I could be wrong. But he actually does talk about that. The de-development of Latin America. That's what the title would be. El de desarrollo de América Latina, or Latinoamérica. So yeah, so that is a good way to put it as well. So in 1990, you have the supposed invasion, right? And I only say this because, again, de-development is definitely a thing. I don't know whether it was into Rwanda. Right, exactly. So what you have is the Rwandan, or Rwandese, as they call it here, this invasion, right, of the Tutsi rebels, as they were called, right, that were trying to overthrow, right, the Hutu majority government. But all of the major institutions, right? Like I said, the Roman Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, right? The French, right? The Belgians, they immediately dropped, right? They dumped the Tutsis who had been their collaborators, you know, mainly because they had essentially created them as a class of people, right? That now were given privileges, right? But also were now the object of the ire, right? And anger of the Hutus, right? So now that they were gonna, you know, let that colony become independent, they dropped them and said, no, now we have to have a Hutu majority government because that's democracy, right? So this is why you have a lot of people that say, well, Tutsis only make up 14% of the population. Why should they, blah, 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 right? And so, again, there's more history that needs to be gone into, but for the purposes here, we'll go, much as we need to. A peace agreement signed in August 1993 has brought the war to a halt, but it appears to be an uneasy peace. An estimated 4,500 people, both combatants and non-combatants, again, even people that are part of did they try? No. That is not what they wanted to do. They immediately said, we have to observe democracy, which means that the majority has to rule. That's literally what their position became, like overnight. Like they literally sided with all of the Hutu nationalists, the Hutu power government, etc. Like they completely sold out the Tutsis, who again, in many ways were compelled, right, because of generations of them being born to this ethnic group that was given a sort of privilege. This is why, but I don't like this phrase, the way how they phrase this. This is often why people have tried to term the Tutsis as the Jews of Rwanda or the Jews of Africa. I don't like that. I don't think that that's I think that that's very... No, don't try to make that analogy, right? I can see the comparison that you're trying to make, right? I can see a thread, right? But you can't, I mean, in my opinion, right, I wouldn't put it like that, right? I wouldn't put it like that. But that's my opinion, right? I don't think that is the proper way to discuss this. I know. But, again, it's because they are this ethnic group, right, that because of its special relationship to the ruling colonial government of the time, received certain privileges, and that once it was returned, right, and it's actually a minority, then what if saying Rwanda is the Israel of Africa? Because I've heard of that as well. Well, I mean, again, you had 2 million Tutsis that were exiled, right? And then you have the M23, etc. And also another thing, Rwanda is also the country that accepts, right, all the asylum seekers, right, that try to seek asylum in Israel. Israel just sends them to Rwanda because Rwanda is a willing accomplice, right, in that as well. So that's why the British wanted to send them, because they already... If you're a Bible person, I like that description. Are you a Bible person? I mean, you would think that this yes, I think your point, McGoggles, is right. There already are African Jews, right? Yeah, the EU wants to use Rwanda like that too, and then again, they're willing to do it, right? Because they want, because the government of by Paul Kagame, who again, at the time of the genocide, was seen as a hero, right? And was given a lot of praise. And many people say because of that, he's kind of milked, so to speak, or, you know, oh my gosh, Philippe. Um, um, uh, it's because of that that many people say that that's why the West is willing to back Paul Kagame now, right? That like, well, yes, he might have been in power since 1994, right? So he's been in power 30 years, right? But, you know, Rwanda is the only democracy in Central Africa, quote unquote, right? You know what I mean? It's like that same logic that they try to do with Israel, right? And then they always go, oh, well, look at how clean Rwanda is. So what? I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. If you know, there should be no, you know, I don't know, something, I don't know what it is about me, but I just really dislike dictatorships. I don't know what it is. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just something about me. I don't know what it is. Not as bad as the plan by the far-right UK regime that burned a ton of money, the ridiculous plan, but bad enough, yeah. East Germany was clean. So again, combatants and non-combatants. Now, this is important to state because a lot of people like to think that if someone is at home sleeping in their bed with their family, that they get to still count. It's the only sanitocracy in the region, right? We even had elections. They were just a complete fraud. I mean, that's literally Mexico for 60 years. I mean, literally, I love how America loves to still call it a one-party democracy or under one-party rule. Or there was only one party. You can't vote for anybody else. I mean, it essentially did the thing. Like what in the second election, right, of 1932, right, the one that happened in November, right, where it has Ya or 9. It's like Ya is really big and 9 is really small. Stop criticizing actually existing democracy. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's pretty much where we're headed at this point. AD. So, non-combatants. Even if you were a member of a militant organization, if you're at home, you are a non-combatant. Right? Like, if you're eating dinner at your house, right, and you're not doing anything, right, like you're not actively in combat, you're a non-combatant. Right? That's literally international. That is just like all of the conventions, all of Geneva, whatever, the Hague, the Petersburg protocols, whatever you want to, that is international law. If you're at home eating some Rocky Road ice cream, right, watching a movie with your family, right, it doesn't matter which group you're part of, you are a non-combatant. It is a war crime to do anything against you because you are a non-combatant in that situation, right? Because there is the concept of hors de combat, right? Out of conflict. And that is the whole point. That is the distinction made. If you are out of conflict, out of the conflict zone, and cannot actually present any danger to the person, then you are not a combatant. It's very simple. Like the people that like to pretend that the rules, that the laws on armed conflict somehow make it impossible for people to win a war are wrong. The amount of stuff it does allow you to do is ridiculous, right? But very simple concepts like, anyway. So again, this is so the fighting also uprooted nearly 1 million civilians, or 1 out of every 7 Rwandans. So 15% of the population, right? Imagine 15% of the population, because that's 1/7. 15% of the population in the United States was displaced, or 15% of the population of Germany was displaced, or 15% of the population of wherever you live, right? Isn't that the only worth anything if we all agree to live in a rules-based orders? Yes, in a sense, yes, but also I think that these are some of the things that, like, even if you're a leftist, right, like, in my opinion, and people can criticize me on this, I think that international law is one of those things that we shouldn't discard, right? And yeah, the rules still apply to the versus, the rules still apply even if people decide not to follow them, right? Like, we know that the United States, it wasn't even, I remember at one point, it would be great if we could find a way to enforce them against US NATO. Right, exactly. But yes, like I said, like, if what we're seeing is the decline of the United States as the hyperpower, right, so to speak, and again, I'm not disagreeing with you, Orange Hue. I'm just saying that in a just world, right, it isn't one of those things that we would want to discard, right? If the entire world was on the socialist road, so to speak, right, would this be one of these things to discard? I would say no, right? The idea of international law, which, by the way, I do want to mention this, because a lot of people like to say, well, the United States is not subject to blah, blah. Actually, it is. Because the United States is a member of the UN. So either the United States can withdraw, right, its position on the UN Security Council at any time it wants, or it can be subject to the laws themselves. And I understand that that's me saying, well, right, but there was a time. In fact, it was Huey Long, that was against the United States joining the ICJ, or what became the ICJ, right, the World Court. So trust me, like and he's often seen as like a left of center populist, right? But even he was against the idea of joining the. My point being, more so that, again, just because the people that right now are not necessarily speaking being subjected to those laws, in a court of justice, right? The laws themselves, however, the jurisprudence that has come about them is worth keeping, right? Like, it wouldn't be worth dismantling. Oh, welcome in, PB. I'm so glad to see you. Welcome in. Right? It would be good to, and again, I say that, of course, for me, human rights are an important thing, international humanitarian law, international law as such, right? But again, yes, they are, to the United States, they can technically remain suggestions, but for now, right? For now. Right? What happens? Right? Well, see, that's one of the things. That's the reason why my book project is actually... I will explain it in brief, right? It's looking at Central Africa, right? From the Congo. Hello, BCAT. It's so good to see you. Welcome in. It's good to see you as well. It's gonna look particularly at the Congo, Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, right? And also to some extent Tanzania, right? But it's going to look at them both as we understand them in their pre-colonial history, their colonial history, and then the post-colonial history, right? And obviously this is not going to be an easy project there, and this is me saying it in very broad terms, right? And this is a book project, so it's going to take a while to write, and it involves a lot of research, right? I mean, hence why I have all of these human rights reports, right? From all throughout 1994, just for one country, is that I want to look at how colonization and the insertion of certain colonial ideas, right, from the Europeans, how they have affected that part of the world, right, and how it, can lead to something like this, right? Let's see here. But yeah, if they're farmers, maybe they won't care. They're just trying to survive. Well, I mean, it's not one, they're not just farmers, but now the country has been developed quite a bit, mostly by foreign direct investment. And you do have more of an industrial base than you did before, right? That is one thing. It also has become like a finance. Okay, good to hear that, PV. Take care. So yeah, like I see your point that yes, in one sense, like, but the thing is that the genocide involved people from all over the country, right? It didn't just affect, right? It didn't just affect people in major cities. It didn't just happen to people that lived right in distinct areas of the country. It affected the entire country, right? That is what was so scary. Like, I kid you not, Romeo Dallaire, right, who was the UN commander, he's Quebecois, who was in charge of the contingent of the UN that stayed when he had essentially only 350 soldiers with him, right? This was when the 90% and other whatever was taken away from him, right? And from being able to safeguard the country, right, or to safeguard, and everything that happened. He himself had caught a Hutu power member, or pardon me, a member of the Interahamwe, right, which was the young men, right? So one of the things that precedes this, right, in the years leading up to 1994, is that its trade base, right? Again, this is part of the research I've been. But since you're asking very good questions, I will try to respond in kind. Rwanda was mainly an export country, right? Mainly in prime materials, right? Mainly in what is often called, or at least, in raw materials, right? One of those things was, one of them is tea, but the main one was coffee. Now, when the coffee price crashed in the 1990s, right, it meant that there was a huge recession in the country that left a lot of particularly young men, right? Again, most of whom were Hutu, that essentially were no longer able to find employment, right? This was a huge amount of them, because now all of the intermediary services, all of the, from the grinding to the, besides that, right, like even outside of the coffee industry, right, all of the other things, right, the logistics, right, etc., right, all of that also meant that all other things that connected the economy, right, also collapsed as well. This created a huge amount of a huge reserve of downtrodden and angry in many ways. Yeah, the retailers that lost their business because exactly, Cat Pig. Then you had again a whole bunch, millions, right, of if not, well, at least hundreds of thousands. I don't know if I can say millions, but hundreds of thousands. I don't want to overestimate. You had hundreds of thousands of young men, right, that were Hutu, were out of a job or couldn't get a job, couldn't even get into the job market, right? And then you have the idea, a rise of Hutu power, right? This is where you have the actual dehumanization of the Tutsis, right? Where they begin to call them Inyezi, right? Cockroaches, etc. Like all of these things, right? This is a process that keeps going and keeps going and keeps going and keeps going until they don't even say the word Tutsi without saying, that the other descriptor word of something related to vermin of some kind, right? They also began to think, and this is another thing that is I find in terms of genocide studies, right, is something that sort of shows how there is this interesting Radio Rwanda, exactly, right? And again, you had pastors from their pulpit saying this, right? But and again, this was caused because, again, imperialism, right, was a big factor. Because instead of growing the things that Rwanda needed, it was growing cash crops like coffee that are subject to the world market, right? And when you have a steep decline like what happened in the early 1990s, then you have the entire economy just... And coffee is particularly unstable market at that. Exactly. Especially when you have other parts of Africa, like Kenya and Ethiopia, right, that are more well known for their coffee production, right? So that also means that, basing your economy on raw materials, especially something like coffee and tea, it doesn't really, anyway. So that's how you get the Interahamwe, right? This was the youth militia, right? And Romeo Dallaire actually was able to essentially detain one who said that they were teaching them, right, in the Hutu power, places, right? And the Interahamwe. Oh yeah. Go make your food. Yeah, and buen provecho, as we would say. Bon appetit. Is that sorry, I don't want to lose my train of thought. Yes, the Interahamwe, right? So they Romeo Dallaire, right, head of the UN contingent there. He received. He came to know that they already had everything planned out, right? They already had ordered the machetes and other such things, right? some of which were provided by the French, so, etc. Blah blah blah. All these different things. Because the French were willing to give them anything, right? Because hey, it's money, right? For them, it was just money. And for the world, right? It was, well, it's over there, right? This is part of that colonialist, right? White supremacist mindset, right? Oh, well, it's over there where those things happen, right? And that's not true, right? But that is the way how many people viewed it, right? So what ends up happening is they catch this guy and he says they have us essentially they're timing them. I'm taking a virtual drive down Rwanda's capital now, and it looks quite pleasant so far. Yeah, I mean, it's really changed, right? And another thing too is, I would highly suggest, right, that if you do watch a film, if you were to watch a film that depicts the what happened in Rwanda, like Hotel Rwanda is not necessarily the best film on this. Like, it does introduce you to certain concepts like the Interahamwe, etc. But, and in fact, it actually reminds me of something I was going to say, is that they even decided, right, what mixture, right, a supposed mixture, right, of whether you had a Hutu father or a Tutsi father, right, whether or not that would, in some cases, like, make you okay, right, and safe, like, they wouldn't, Roblox you, or if you had a, but it wasn't exactly like set in stone, so to speak. So you had people where instead they would have like the one Hutu member of the family do the work for them, so to speak, right? Of your own family, right? That's the horror. That adds to the horror of what happened, right? And again, within the bounds of this very small country, right? Less than the size of Belgium, right? Slightly smaller. I'm surprised how much Google Street View car managed to capture. Well, one thing is, Kigali is up in the hills, right? In fact, Rwanda means the land of 1,000 hills, right? And in fact, the hotel where they filmed, the reason why they call it Hotel Rwanda is because the hotel is that Paul works at is I think his name is Paul, is the Hotel Mille Collines, which means 1,000 hills in French, right? But regardless, I know that the main highway that goes there passes by the university and also the Genocide Memorial, which is where they also have the archives. And I've already sent in my, stuff to try to see if I can become a research associate or whatever. I can't remember exactly the term there, at least have access to the digital collections, because I don't think right now I just can't afford it to go all the way to Kigali, as much as I would love to actually be able to be on the ground, but also because it seems the situation seems very shaky right now. But anyway, I don't know what's going to happen, right, with a lot of that, and it, but what was I saying? So because they also determined who and what was going to do that, this one guy from the Interahamwe that they caught told him that they had timed them so that they could Roblox 1,000 people in 20 minutes. That was their goal. 1,000 people in 20 minutes. Now, Romeo Dallaire called his superior at the UN What do you think that they told him to do? With this information that was before anything started. Before anything started. This was literally, if I remember correctly, it actually was in January too, at the same time that this report was written. It was either January or February, something like that. What did they tell Romeo Dallaire to do? They told him, tell the president, right, Mr. Habyarimana, tell the president, right, Mr. Habyarimana, and tell no one else, and just let the person go. And it never happened. So yes, Catherine, you are very much correct. So, the civilian groups, right, is where you also begin to have, which is where, by the way, the National Republican Movement for Democracy and Development, or the MRND, was the ruling party that was in power at the time, and they were known to have destroyed crops, stolen food, roadblocks cattle, burned homes, and a lot of other things, right? But anyway, so one of the things that then happens, so that's January, right? This is September. This is after what happened, right? And again, some people say different numbers, right? Some people say as much as 1 million. Some people say 800,000. At this point, they're saying 500,000. Hello, MIDI doctors. Welcome in. According to Human Rights Watch Africa, whose representative just completed a 10-day mission to Rwanda, these are things that they noted then, right? So this is September, right? So this is essentially 2-3 months after. They said the present government, right, which is now the Paul Kagame government by the Rwandan Patriotic Front, which was the Tutsi militias, right? Hello, Damao. Hoot hoot. It's so good to see you. The present government lacks the resources to even begin prosecuting the thousands accused of doing the great roadblocks. The international community, despite its infinitely greater resources, has done little to gather the evidence necessary for judicial proceedings. I'm not shocked by that. I have to say, I'm not shocked by that. Especially because the French then moved a lot of the people away, right? And one thing I also think it's interesting to add is the fact that the wife of the president, right, was part of this group, right, of western, right, from the northwest of Rwanda, right, Hutus, right, that actually had become very, very important and essentially were known for essentially being, right, that they didn't want to lose their hold on power because they essentially, they knew each other. They had, hello, Philippe. It's good to see you quite purposefully. Hello, hello. And so they were known, they did not want their corruption, right? They did not want their corruption to be exposed. So they also fanned the flames against the Tutsis because they didn't want the people to start to turn against them instead, right? That's another thing, right? In order to keep their hold on power, right, these northwestern Hutu group, right, that was led by the wife of the president, the situation is getting forgotten in the news cycle. No, it's true. It's true. It's sad, right? But it's scapegoating is often an effective strategy, right? And so again, instead of going against the people this is why there is a very good documentary, right? Because this is the thing, right? I think I should probably explain how the actual events of started. So the Rwandan Patriotic Front and the Habyarimana government, right? Well, President Habyarimana had signed the Arusha Accords, right? But people essentially recognized that they weren't going to stand, right? That they weren't going to last very long. So what did they do? Right? What ended up happening? Well, as they were flying back from Arusha in Tanzania, which is on the eastern, close to the east coast. It's by Ngorongoro National Park, if you know the area. It's actually closer to Mount Kilimanjaro, but it's kind of between those two. It's like right at the foot of Mount Kilimanjaro. The plane that carried President Habyarimana was shot out of the sky. And out of the most, I don't even know, like literally odds that I don't even know what to even call them, right? Landed, I kid you not, in his own front yard. In his own front yard. And so because of that, most people, or rather a lot of people, I shouldn't say most people, a lot of people think and believe that it was his wife that effectively began, right? Yeah, it crashed. It was... Thank you, yes. It crashed. It crashed in his front yard. Is essentially what happened. Because again, it was shot out of the sky. So the plane itself crashed in his front yard. And from what we understand, the way in which the violence started, it seems to... I'm not an expert on flying around Rwanda, but it seems implausible to me that the crash location is anything other than a crazy coincidence. Yeah. No, yeah, it is a coincidence. Like, there was no way that they could have, like, made it crash on the front lawn, right? It just happened to be, right? It just, one of those things where it's like, it's the one time that the probability does meet. You know what I mean? The odds are so microscopic that there's like no way they could ever happen, but it's just one of those times that it does, right? It's just an absurd, an absurd coincidence. So, with the prospect of actual trials, right, I can't blame people. I can't blame people for saying, "Hold on, yeah, exactly." Exactly. And so, again, it's this that then begins the actual genocide at this point. Now we actually have the start of that. That is why most people believe, or I think stop saying most people, that is why many people believe that it was the first lady, right, who again was the head of that group from northwest Rwanda that were essentially in all of the highest positions of government, and who also now lives a comfortable retirement in France, and has been there since since this happened. That it was her and the presidential guards that began, to call for all of the stuff to be, turned on, the whole machine of violence. So, that means that, again, we are at a point where you have, right, the some of the rebel army in parts of Rwanda that came in from Uganda, right? But remember, they were all... One of the things to remember is, again, the Tutsis there were expelled from Rwanda because of the Hutu government, right? So again, this is why, like, going over this, it's like when they call it an invasion, right? I had a friend who was a photojournalist during documenting this genocide. In hindsight, his observations on it are some we all experienced over Gaza. No, I mean, that's one of those things where it's you yeah. I don't know. I don't even know what to say to the other thing. Yeah. So the next thing that Human Rights Watch says: with the prospect of the actual trial's distance, persons accused, rightly or wrongly, of participation in the massacres are being roadblocked or are disappearing from their communities, usually at the hands of government, now the Paul Kagame Tutsi government. A small number of those taken by soldiers are handed over to civilian authorities for trial, but many are presumed roadblocked. The government has denounced roadblocking for vengeance, but has not acted effectively to stop them. Soldiers of the Rwandan Patriotic Front also roadblocked civilians during the war against the then government of Rwanda, thus violating the Geneva Convention. 64 soldiers are now under arrest, but not all are charged with having done so. So this is when they begin to call for an international tribunal. Remember, this was before the ICC existed, right? Not that necessarily, the ICC has been very, able since that, right? And so now moving to the last report that they did in that, right? And this connects to what we were saying here about the current problem in the Congo, is Human Rights Watch Africa says the international community, right, these are its recommendations: deter imminent and catastrophic war in the region by restoring security in the camps in Zaire. The international community did not do that. They did not do that. In fact, they did the opposite, and that's why we're here right now. So even in December of 1994, there is a way we can stop this from getting worse. And they didn't. Radio on one hand, machete in the other. That's how I remember them from my childhood, watching the news. I mean, again, there is a member of our community whose father was there during the genocide, and I can't even imagine what it must have been like. Let alone to have seen those images, right? Being live on television or everything. But it also tells you a lot because of the fact of how willing they were to show, right? Particularly black bodies, right? In that state. That's why when I saw it here immediately, I was like, no, I'm not gonna. One, because the rules, but two, because that's another thing. Yeah, everyone did die. In fact, I think the Burundian president was also on that flight. So it was two presidents that perished in that flight. So, I mean, But yes, another major thing was to also close the displaced persons camps in Rwanda and to allow people to return to their homes, because obviously, you know. But again, so we've read through the 3 reports, right, that discuss what's happening in Rwanda and how it affects, right, what was then called Zaire, now called the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So,
what was then called Zaire, but is now the DRC. The Tutsi government in Rwanda continue to view the Hutus as a threat, living just over the border. Rwanda staged 2 separate invasions of the DRC, with the fighting lasting from 1996 to 2003. Millions were killed in that conflict.
I have to be very careful because I don't... Okay, here we go.
Peace deal was agreed by rebels and the Congolese government. One of the terms of the agreement was for Tutsis, including the rebels themselves, to be integrated into the Congolese army. But in 2012, 300 Tutsi soldiers...
Okay, so, again, as I was explaining, right, that this was a peace agreement and that certain things are supposed to take place. Now, then we were going to get to it. Note the date, right? March 23rd. That is why, again, as I said before, that is why they're called M23 or M23, because this was the peace agreement between this, and that's what they have wanted.
It was believed that the deal had been broken. They deserted the Congolese army and formed a new rebel group, M23, named after the date the peace agreement was originally signed. And shortly afterwards, the rebel soldiers took Goma for the first time in 2012. M23 says it exists to protect the Tutsi community, and the Rwandan government has backed them because of that. But there's something else that might explain Rwanda's support and M23's desire to take control of the DRC, and it's what lies buried deep in the ground of the Congo. The DRC is home to huge mineral deposits. In fact, it has more than half of the known reserves of cobalt in the world, a crucial metal at the heart of the global green revolution.
Okay, so they call it something else in every different news report. But yes, because Congo has half of all the known reserves in the world of cobalt and coltan, which is necessary for those 2 things, for that as well. That is why Rwanda, right, it sells, right, you know, they say, because again, I don't think any pilot would agree to a conspiracy that involves a Sam. Well, it was 2 Sams too. Remember that they weren't on a combat plane, right? They were on the presidential plane, right? And it was shot twice, once in the middle and once in the back. And so, if anything, it would have been that second one that really made it, you know, fall in the way it did. Yeah, it would have been nothing short than, a literal miracle. And as you said earlier, Ketbig, Rwanda does have some minerals, right? And so, but that also allows it to say, well, we do have some stuff, right? So, obviously, it's a cobalt ore with many names, but cobalt is the refined part everyone's smartphone needs. Yes, that's true. Is that, and remember, this has been going on for 2012, right? 2012 was not as long ago as people like to think, but it also seems like a long time ago, right? It seems like it almost seems like a different world as in comparison to today. But yeah, if 2 Sams hit it, there's no way anyone would have survived that. Again, that's why some people think that it was done. That it was done so as to ignite the violence, but I don't know. It's just one of those things that I don't know. But again, with this, because Rwanda does have some minerals, right? It is allowed to put a seal that says, "Oh, well, these aren't illegally extracted minerals," right? and that's where they sell it to the United Arab Emirates, right, to other countries, right, that then sell it to the United States or to, whatever.
Used for lithium-ion batteries, which can be found in everything from smartphones to electric vehicles to national power grids. In 2022, the DRC...
I hate that, electric cars, right, that Tesla has become the only thing, right, the only type of car, right, that anybody thinks about when they think about electric cars, because there are actually, yes, they launder it, exactly. And that actually comes out in the show Black Earth Rising, because a guy who's coming from the Congo trying to enter Rwanda, right, says, let in my trucks, right, let in my trucks. And the guy says, I can't let you in because now we have to abide by, and he cites some American law, right, but essentially, right, that says that, that all of the minerals that Rwanda is getting, right, have to be, exploitation free, quote unquote, right? So, again, but it also, one thing the show also depicts is how much of a dependence people have, right, on the selling of these minerals, which is why, again, there are over 100 different rebel groups just in this area alone, this eastern part of the Congo, north of Lake Tanganyika and going all the way to Lake Edward, right, where you have, or is it Lake Albert? I think it's Lake Albert. Or is this, no, yeah, that's Lake Albert. Okay, so, yeah, right, that, lithium iron phosphate batteries mitigate a lot of these ethical issues, but they are heavily unsuitable for EVs. Yeah, that's true. And that's always going to be one of the things. Isn't China's BYD the world's largest EV maker now? It is. And I've seen electric cars that are just not Teslas, when in Mexico, for example, because it's not America. That's the best way how I could say it, because it's not America. Thank goodness for that. Tesla just wins the most sold model because they have so few models, not because they actually sell that many cars. Well, that's true, because they all do look, and I hate that whirring sound, that they make. I'm like, why? And baby Elon going full fast certainly isn't going to help with those sales numbers, no. But now, Steve Bannon also did the Elon salute. And some other guy at CPAC, so I don't know. It's made free from all incentivized consumerism. Yeah, well, we should have a Gila Hail. Oh my god, Mineral Nerd episode one day. Yeah, we should. Gila Hail battery Mineral Nerd. Yes, that sounds awesome. Actually. I've heard good things about China's EVs. I've heard, for one, that they're actually, if they want. Yeah, no, I mean, if Gila would want to, hey, I would be more than glad to. Anyone. But yes, I've heard, one thing is that they're actually, safer. Because, safety is a thing that they put far ahead than Tesla does. Tesla puts it safety is, the penultimate thing that they can look at.
It exported $28.5 billion worth of goods, and the top 4 items it exported were all mineral deposit.
Yeah, so refined copper, which this was what during the Mobutu years, right, was what allowed him to essentially justify his administration, right? Because of raw copper and refined copper. It was only once at the end of the Vietnam War, right, that the global price of copper fell, right? It fell precipitously. Then suddenly all of the social programs that Mobutu was able to keep in place, right, that sort of helped him and also helped him build the palace that he, like, his own personal Versailles. That's what I hear. Yeah, cheaper battery engineered. Yeah, I mean, and again, that's why, again, like, I've seen more of those cars in, like, even in Latin America, just because there's one, like, you can actually buy those things in Latin America. So, because in America, like, I like how America's like, oh, we're all about free trade, but only free trade with you know, only when it's other countries, not us, right? Like, we have to own TikTok, right?
But that's just the...
Oh yeah, but my point was that Mobutu, once you had the, you know, the copper price fall after the Vietnam War, then you essentially, like, that sort of is what led to the unrest that then, you know, eventually made it fall. So,
tip of the iceberg. There's also huge deposits of lithium, gold, diamonds, zinc, tin, and coltan. And at the moment...
Yeah, so coltan is another one of the minerals that's necessary for that, but lithium as well for the batteries. Gold is also used in smartphones. Diamonds, I know people know of the concept of blood diamonds, right? But zinc is also very important, and again, I think as Orange Hue mentioned, tin, or maybe it was Catbig, I don't remember. But yes.
At the moment, the DRC is only mining a tiny fraction of the reported $25 trillion worth of...
See, this is what I don't like. I don't like this framing. At this point, I'd rather be barred from using motorized transport of any kind for the rest of my life than a free Tesla. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, like, look, like, if I had to, like, you know, move to Mexico and, like, live in it's just a regular town, I wouldn't need even Mexico City, I wouldn't need a car, right? And I wouldn't want a car. Like, why on earth would I want a car? It's like, here in LA, I have to have a car, right? That's the thing. But I hate the framing of this. Like, they haven't tapped into this, all of this money, you know? Like, I hate that they always have to, don't you see, this is the problem. This is the problem. And yes, if you'd like to support me, either by helping me move, because, you know, things aren't exactly the best in the United States right now, you can go to my Throne, and there you can donate to my moving fund. Or if you'd like to sponsor one of the books for my research, then you can also do that there. Again, thank you. Yeah, a car wouldn't be very useful for me. I don't even have a driving license and no plans to do that. Look, I honestly, like, when Norman Finkelstein, right, okay, when Norman Finkelstein said that he's never had a driver's license, right, I actually was like, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's good. Right. Oh, I hate driving so much. It's such a... Oh. And then everybody, it's one person in each car, and I'm like, why? Why? Why is one person in each car, and we're all filling up the freeway? Like, I get it, we all have to take the 110, but why does everybody all have to be in one car? You know what I mean? Each one of us in our own car, all by ourselves, you know? Like, my goodness. But anyway.
Untapped natural resources.
Untapped natural resources. Why does everything have to be around? Like, if only the Democratic Republic of the Congo could, you know, do its own mining and sell all of this stuff, because... Yeah. But anyway. So. On to Javier Milei, who is very, very, very good at, who is very, very good at making libertarianism look something. And not just any car, but much of the cars are not even cars, but agricultural vehicles, SUVs or trucks. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, like, look, the amount of Cybertrucks I've seen, and I've seen them in different colors. I've seen one with I can't remember the name of the Dragon Ball Z character. You know, on it, and it all of it looks bad. I'm sorry, but an SUV is not a car; it's a farming vehicle. Hey, you know what? I remember someone told me that the American penchant for SUVs is because of the what was it? That the reason why it's like a big thing in the suburbs or whatever is because it reminds Americans of the schooners, right? Of the the covered wagons that they, when they went west. And I'm like, you have to be kidding me, right? Like you have to be kidding me. But apparently that's what they were trying to argue, that like, oh yes, it's the pioneering spirit of America embodied in the, in the what's it called, in the oh wait, no, I don't need those. Oh wait, no, I do need those. Right, I can just do this. Okie dokie. Let's go to that. Sorry, wrong chat. When SUVs first came, German rich people tried to evade vehicle taxes by legally registering them as agricultural vehicles until the police started enforcing the speed limit that comes with that registration. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Hello, bipedal meatbag. They think SUVs are safer, but they're actually worse for anything that hits them. Right, like, an interesting thing, too, is I forget, someone was talking about how even a military tank, right, has better visibility when it comes to, like, people walking in front of you than, like, a lot of American cars. I forget where I saw that. Oregon Trail lives on with a combustion engine. Yeah. And instead of dysentery, it's COVID. But, same thing. But yeah, they're not safer. I don't know why people think they are. I think it's because they're higher up. Like, I wouldn't be surprised U.S. cars have earned their bad reputation. Yeah, I mean. Okay, so let's go back. The 2 seconds that it... okay.
Or at least that's what people thought. Now they're currently...
Oh my gosh. It said Javier Malay. Like Malay. Like as though he's from Malaysia. My goodness. Come on. It's Milei, come on.
Of scams, insider trading, and the president of Argentina may be charged with fraud and faces possible impeachment. I'm here to...
Look. Impeachment is the least... Is like that would be... Yeah, it's bigger, so it must be safer. Yeah, and also, again, because it's higher up, right? Because I know a lot... I don't know what it is, but like a lot of people have this like, oh, if I'm higher up... or something, and it like feels, you're in a bigger car, right? It makes you feel safer, I guess. I don't know. I never got that, but I would love if he got impeached and done for fraud over this. Yeah, I mean, Javier Milei, oh gosh. Yeah, like impeachment, honestly, to me, is the tamest thing that could happen to him. Tamest. Like to me, that's a slap on the wrist, if anything. Like, he needs to go to every court in Argentina and be sued for fraud. And then every court in every country and in every state and in every province and in every municipality where anybody ever lived that ever saw his face for fraud. That is the least he can do. Okay? That is the least he can do.
To break down what happened, because I got insider access to the real story. I even got offered control of the missing $100 million+ that was made in ill-gotten gains. Welcome back to the $10 million studio. Our story starts on February 14th, 2025. Javier Milei, the president of Argentina, tweeted about a meme coin called Libra. The details at first were sparse. Quote, liberal Argentina grows. This private project will focus on encouraging growth of the Argentine economy, funding small businesses and Argentine adventures. The world wants to invest in Argentina. And it linked to a website which called it a token with purpose, where 50% of the tokens were allocated to Argentina growth. And I'll admit, it sounds nice. However, as the price skyrocketed to billions of dollars in market cap, people got worried because there appeared to be insider trading. And that's when Javier Milei suddenly deleted his tweet, saying he, quote, obviously has no connection with the project, and...
So, obviously has no connection. Sorry, I don't believe that. Like, being so gung-ho about it and being like, I don't know. Okay, so, if people know, like, this actually was an Argentine news the other day about Hayden, right? The guy that actually, hangs out with, and he actually says, like, I like Milei. I think Milei is, like, our last bastion against, socialism or whatever the hell he said. And I'm just like, bro, like, you literally just scammed people. And, like, it was just so cringe. Like, it's like, yeah, well, the reason why we were sniping was because we didn't want other people to snipe. And it's just like, apparently it's the same people who were behind Trump and Melania coin. Don't forget Melania, right? Melania coin. Don't forget it. Don't forget Melania coin. We are living in an era where no one learns. I mean, and where, well, Milei was at CPAC following Elon around? Yeah. Well, of course he wants to be out of Argentina right now, because the Poder Judicial de la Nación, or which could be translated as, the justice system of the nation, but essentially the federal, like the national, like, justice system, right, has already opened up a federal investigation into Milei, right? Yeah, kind of like a national prosecutor, sure. It's like the judicial branch, right? It's like they, as a separate branch, right, that's distinct, have opened up their own investigation on the executive branch, right, so to speak. Well, I didn't sell those kids. Someone else would. Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I guess you could say the chief prosecutor or whatever. But essentially, it's the federal judicial whatever. In many countries, prosecutors are the independent of the executive. No, yeah, because like in Mexico, for example, we have La Fiscalía General de la República, which is a separate entity. It conducts its own investigations, and Fiscalía, it used to be called a Procurador or Procuraduría, which is literally prosecutor, like it translates almost exactly to prosecutor. It's just changed its name a few times, but yeah, where they're independent of the executive. And then the attorney general technically is the executive government's lawyer, technically, at least in principle, right? I don't know. But the Justice Department, which is under the president, can also open up its investigations, which is... Anyway, yeah, I get what you mean. Because Mexico and Argentina are two countries where the prosecutors are separate from the executive, so I get that. But yeah, essentially, he's getting investigated, and it seems like from what I was reading on the news, like... So, if people don't know, CoffeeZilla actually spoke to the guy, Hayden, and he just said a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Like, oh, we did this, but I did that. One thing that he said that he did that he didn't do to anybody else, right, was he refunded one person. I think it was like, I might be wrong and I might be misremembering this, but if I remember, it was $5 million. But he doesn't want to refund anybody else. Just that guy that he knew. From a wallet that he acknowledges he's in possession of, that the guy said is his personal wallet, but that he doesn't claim as his personal wallet. I love how he refunded one rich... Yeah. You know. It's like, oh yeah, for you, I'll definitely refund, but for everybody else, no.
Quote, I was not aware of the details of the project. Understandably, the price crashed after this, but in the rubble, people discovered that the team responsible for launching the token may have...
I know it's kind of like... like so yeah, you have these people, right, that because he put in $5 million right when it spiked, right? Like he knew that they were gonna do the initial, spike or pump, right? But he waited until the moment that it happened, and then and then put in his money. And so he was like, well, I felt bad for him, and blah blah blah. So here you have the amounts of the I think it's 9 people. Or 8 people, I guess. I don't want to count the total. But yeah, $107 million that people got because of other people losing money, right? And so, like, one thing I hate about this is, like, some of these look like, like when your computer automatically tries to create you a password, it looks like that. And I'm like, I look at this and I'm like, this looks like one of those, like, I don't know. But yeah, you could see that, like, the highest amount that someone made was $29.52 million, right? And so, so, is he using AI? I have no idea. But not the countless actual victims. Right, I mean, like, there are people that actually put, like, thousands of dollars in because, again, they had the president of a country that's saying, oh, I want to help small businesses. This is Argentine, blah, 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 right? This is to help Argentine industry and small business. And then it turns out to be an estafa, right? A scam, right? So there are, and again, it's not as though this doesn't affect people who have very little income, right? That have very little savings, right? That live off of a very small amount of money, right? Like, people like to think, oh, only crypto bros that you see, right, with their courses and their whatever, right? Only they would, buy it. That's not true, right? There's a lot of, average people who, sometimes even young kids, right? Like, I mean, like, very young, right? That are, like, barely out of high school, right? That, they don't know what they're doing. They hear about this. They say, oh, you can make tons of money. Lose everything. And so, it's not called a pyramid for nothing. True. It's also why these criminal masterminds talk to CoffeeZilla. That's never going to go well with you. Oh, yeah. The reason why was because he thought that he could keep his story straight. But then at one point, like, because he keeps trying to distance himself, right? And then he's trying to say that he's, like, humanitarian, and that, oh, blaming me means that you're for the whatever. And it's just like, bro, just calm down. Just stop. Just stop. Like there was one point where CoffeeZilla literally just, like, goes like this and just, like, literally is like, oh my gosh, you have literally, like, he literally essentially states that, like, all of these things are scams, right? He just says it at some point. And I'm just like, I don't think that's the point you're trying to make, right? Insofar as, like, he's trying to say, like, well, I didn't do anything special because I scammed people, right? Because all of them are scams. Like, I don't think that's the right. No. I don't think that's the right thing. You should try to argue. Well, Your Honor, I was only doing what everybody else was doing. But it looks like with millionaires and billionaires sank in the Mediterranean, suddenly half a dozen countries would send teams, or when thousands of refugees are drowning, we prosecute NGOs, right? And you also have people like Lauren Southern who were friends with, people like Lonerbox, etc., right? Although he tried to say that he wasn't friends with her, right? And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't need to go rehash this again, right? Because I don't really care about either of those two people. Because they're both, who, was part of a crew that, was trying to stop one of those boats, right, to allow it to drown, to allow it to just sink, essentially, right, to capsize. Yes, and so on, and so on, and so on, right? Because my point is not really with them two. It's just the fact that, you have the genocide denialists as well, right? And yet now you have what is it? Oh, yeah. White South Africans can claim refugee status in America instantly because of Trump, right? Because of Elon, of course. But Mexicans can't. Hello, Boy Meets Minnie. I am doing good. I'm doing good. How are you? I'm glad to hear that you were just streaming. I hope your stream went well. But regardless, right? Like Lauren was, there in the Mediterranean trying to, actively, make boats sink, right? Which is horrendous, and she should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But that's just my opinion. We clowning on Malay? Yeah, we are. We're definitely clowning on Malay. But white, no, yeah. Yeah, so, but what was weird, though, is, like, a whole bunch of South Africans were like, we don't want to leave, right? Like, we actually don't want to leave. And I'm just like, okay. Free market, baby. If they're too slow to buy low, they should suffer the oh gosh. In my honest opinion, all cryptocurrencies are a scam. I mean, they are. I mean, even they have to, like, even Hayden admitted, like, yeah, they're all a scam. Again, you can check this by checking out the full interview. It's just too long for, for me, if I were to watch it, this stream's gonna last like 6 hours. Money isn't real, but crypto is even less real. Yay, the unofficial mini raid. Well, hey, probably not what he wanted to say, but he was right. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm like, bro, did you talk to your lawyer before you decided to go on with CoffeeZilla? Did you really think that you were gonna, like, truly,
walked away with over $100 million being taken out of the liquidity pool, meaning they may have gotten rich while everyone else got rugged. It was about this time I began to investigate, and I got an anonymous phone call from someone who claimed to know where this all started, Tech Forum Argentina, which was an event where you could pay as a blockchain company to be a sponsor. According to a source who was there and paid for it, part of it included a meet and greet with Javier Milei, the president of Argentina.
I just don't see what people see in Milei. I gotta be... Okay, see you soon. I just don't see what people see in Milei. Like, I get that he's like, oh, I want to run the world as though, like everything Ayn Rand ever wrote were actually, like, theory, and we have to put it into praxis. But if your lawyer allows you to talk to CoffeeZilla, well, I mean, in this case, I almost feel like he would represent himself. Like, he sounds like a litigant in person type of guy. Like, oh, I definitely can get away with it, right? It amazes me how much often rich people accidentally confess or make another catastrophic legal mistakes. I mean, they can actually afford lawyers. You do not need to speak to anyone except your lawyer when you're accused or might be accused or large fraud. It's not rocket science. You only say the exact words your lawyer signed off only. Yes, and not only that, but there's one thing too. ICE is not the police. If they say that they're police, that's a lie, and they can be criminally prosecuted for that. 2, they cannot just ask you to open the door. You don't have to open the door. 3, the ACLU has a whole thing that tells you about what to do in case ICE shows up at your door, because we've had to learn this stuff very recently. 4, if you are detained by ICE, and you are undocumented, you do not have the right to an attorney. But there are organizations that will help you get an attorney that works for you pro bono, because as an undocumented person, you do not have the right under U.S. law to an attorney to be provided for you if you cannot afford one. And they do put children without attorneys on trial. Never forget that the United States puts children that don't even know the concept of a lawyer on trial. Okay? Never forget that. Never forget that. Okay? You get any one thing from me that you've ever learned, never forget that. It puts children to defend themselves in court. And because it's immigration court, they don't have to have it be public. So we don't know what on earth is happening in that room when there is a child having to defend themselves because they have no idea what a lawyer is. Okay? It's a 5-year-old, right? So again, don't make jokes about deportations. Don't make jokes about ICE. Don't make jokes about any of that stuff. Right? Chinga la migra, right? And also, again, make sure that you look up the organizations that are there, right? That are willing to help undocumented people, as well as those people who are also documented but in a very precarious position, right? So that way they can have legal representation when ICE does come and try to knock on their door. Because, trust me, there have been less people, I'll put it like that, in certain places that I know of. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. But remember, if you are undocumented and you do not have the right to an attorney to be provided for you if you cannot afford one, but there are organizations that will provide one for you at no cost pro bono. You can check at the ACLU and also LULAC as well. I can't imagine how scary that is for a child in a strange country with no adults in their corner, OMG. I kid you not. I kid you not. Where is that human rights report? I swear. It's like... I have the one on Rwanda, but that's not the one I need. Again, I was planning to talk more about... Here we go. This is from Human Rights Watch. Again, I read for my historiographic stuff, right? I have to read human rights reports a lot, right? Very much like Norman Finkelstein, right? I mean, I don't mean to compare myself to him, but just to say that, like, he reads a lot of human rights reports, so do I, right? Because we do talk about very different things, right? I mainly talk about stuff like, anyway. I will read to you from a human rights report about the United States. Okay? The United States is the only country that gets its own category on Human Rights Watch. Okay? Everywhere else it's a list of countries. The United States is its own category on its own when it comes to all of that stuff. Okay? But yes, make sure to look at the ACLU, because they were the ones, and I kid you not, they were the ones that brought the case in February of 2018 that compelled the government to disclose how many children were forcibly separated from their parents. Okay. They had to go to court to get those. And they actually couldn't give them the numbers right away because they didn't know. They didn't know. Okay? That's another thing. Okay? Now we're talking about something completely different, but I think it's worth talking about. Because again, since you brought up the whole lawyers thing, it made me think of, lawyers, if you can get one. Okay. So, there was a zero tolerance policy in the United States, right? The United States government began separating, and I'm quoting now, started separating children from families well before it was a formally issued policy. In addition to carrying out a target pilot program in New Mexico and West Texas, the United States government had elsewhere along the border, now this is a quote within that, quietly begun taking hundreds of children away from their parents to deter would-be asylum seekers from coming to the United States, end quote. According to Lee Gellert of the ACLU, just a few days after border agents forcibly, Rolando and Johan, the ACLU asked a federal judge to issue a nationwide injunction to stop the practice. In addition, again quoting again, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, separated dozens of children from parents who requested asylum at ports of entry, cases that involved no improper entry. So even people that did everything right, they indicted them, so to speak. Again, forcibly separated parents were arriving to federal court anxious to know when they would see their children again. Right? But the judge said he was not there to handle the children. He was just there to sentence, and now this is quoting someone, he was just there to sentence us for the crime of crossing the river. A 28-year-old Honduran woman told members of a volunteer team of lawyers monitoring compliance with the Flores Settlement Agreement, which had set minimum standards of care for children in immigration detention. Most parents later learned that their children had been or were about to be sent to an ORR, which particularly is which is a detention facility. I want to make sure I say the right thing, so I'm going to look at their exact their glossary to make sure I say the right thing. Office of Refugee Resettlement. To the Office of Refugee Settlement shelter, but in at least one case, a woman returned to court to learn that her 13-year-old son had been returned to Mexico. Had been returned to Mexico. They deported the child, even though they did everything right. In some cases, parents spent weeks without knowing where their children were. In other cases, they were deported alone, with no information about their separated children who remained in the United States. Some parents said that immigration officials induced them to waive their rights, including to seek asylum, which, by the way, that is literally a crime against humanity. What those immigration officials are doing, telling them that this was the only way or the fastest way to be reunited with their children. This is literally a crime against humanity. That's literally my own note, me, Shakespeare. I am saying this right here. This is a crime against humanity. I'll take it to the Hague if they try to deny this. I will take it to the Hague if they're willing to go. So, the government officials who developed the forcible family separation policy, and I would put this in italics, aim to separate all families who cross the U.S.-Mexico border irregularly, or at least as many as possible. End quote. It is a planned separation of as many families as possible. Okay. When, and again, this is something that's true, right, in terms of this. Quoting again. When someone is deprived of liberty, as all separated parents and children were, and the government refuses to disclose the whereabouts of the person it is detained to the person's family, the result is an enforced disappearance. A gross violation of human rights. So again, remember, the cops are not your friends. ICE is not your friend. CBP is not your friend. Don't make jokes about this stuff. They are doing crimes against humanity. Crimes against humanity. כל השחורים. ומה? ומה? אתם מוכנים? מה המצב? So again, people say, oh, I'm saying this and blah, 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 oh, that I'm taking this too seriously, that I'm, nothing important. But anyway, again, I could go deeper and deeper into this human rights report, but it would only upset me even more. Good point. It's an enforced disappearance. I also insist on calling the took to Cuba kidnapping victims. Yeah. And also, I understand that I got, but I had to read those things because, again, putting children in court, right, without, because there are some people saying, well, it's not that, whatever, it's not. I'm so sorry people were dismissive of you, Shax. You're definitely right. There's nothing to joke about. This is just, knowing that this is going on and knowing that I have heard either of people saying that they're already gone, actually. Right? This was weeks ago. Over 6 weeks ago now. Or over 4 weeks ago now. That they said, oh, in a few weeks we're going to leave. And they're already gone. A whole family. 3 generations gone. Right? Thank you, Kiki Inc. I just... But, again, this is why it should be upsetting to everyone. Yes, it should be. Putting a 5-year-old on trial for no crime. No crime. Crossing a river, crossing an invisible line is not a crime. Sorry. It's not. There should be no wall there. There should have never have been a wall there. If people want to move, they have the right to move wherever they want. And they have the right to seek asylum wherever they want. And whatever their destination is, that cannot be determined by the country that they want to be in. Yeah, the border shouldn't even be there. I mean, we already saw what happens with borders when it comes to the case of Africa, right? And just one part of Africa, right? With the border of Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and the Congo. 250 different ethnic groups in just one of the countries, right? Let alone everything else, right? So that's why, again, it must be remarked. I recently saw a map about when U.S. obtained its various lands that listed formerly the Republic of Texas. Well, yeah, it is very misleading. It is very misleading. It's funny because there are some people that sort of sometimes get upset when I call it a slavers' revolt. But it's like, what did they implement in Texas right away? Oh, well, you know, they were bringing in slaves, and okay, then there was a slavers' revolt. They were upset that Mexico made slavery illegal. That was their problem. So, yeah. It is misleading. Because, one, there's this belief, too, that, Texas does have a national identity. I'm just I'm sorry, that's just not true. That's all contrived. Literally, almost everything that is supposedly Texan, right, that it belongs to the quote-unquote Anglo-American community, all of it's just stolen or, just a slightly twisted version of whatever Mexicans had, right? I mean, even the words cowboy comes from vaquero, buckaroo comes from vaquero. It's literally people trying to say vaquero in English, right? Buckaroo, right? The hats in the Old West, quote unquote, they didn't wear Stetsons. They wore bowler hats. That was the hat of choice, not the Stetson. The Pony Express only lasted 18 months, right? They make the colonization of the West seem like this long period of time in the past that, they try to make it seem as though it lasted, many eons. But it's not true. It's not true at all. But, then they'd have to admit that they did horrific things against the people that already lived there, and that's the problem.
This person was excited, but disappointed to find out that once they got there, they were invited to sign an even more expensive contract where two of the guys who ran the event, Mauricio Novelli and Manuel Godoy, were going to basically advise you on how to have blockchain technology in Argentina. Basically, they got you access to Malay. The person I spoke to did not pay.
Oh my gosh, it keeps saying, okay. I like the fact that it keeps saying basically they got you access to Malay, and it makes it as Malay as in the language, right? Or the country as well, related to Malaysia. Right, it's almost I don't know, I feel like that needs to be a thing. They got you access to Malay, it's like secret knowledge or something.
Someone who did was Kip Protocol, and the strategic partner of Tech Forum in 2025 is Kelsier. Both of those companies are going to be extremely important, and the people who run them are called Julian Pei.
This is the guy that confessed everything. Hayden Davis. literally all of the. It's an unfortunate mispronunciation. Yeah, no, it's. But the way how I see it is like it's an interesting password equals chainsaw. Wow. I do think so on the Argentine news as I was watching it last night, they actually started showing his face all over the place. I know you can't really see it right now, but you will in a second, because I'm covering him right now. But anyway, but because he sticks out so much, because he makes himself stick out, right? Like he has to have this haircut, he has to wear the clothes, like he has to be who he is, right? So
And Hayden Davis. Pretty soon, a plan was hatched between Mauricio Manuel from Techform Argentina and Julian and Hayden to launch a project together. It was going to be called Libra and support the Argentinian economy. And President Milei agreed to tweet about it. The division of labor was basically that Mauricio Manuel were the connection, it seems, Hayden was handling the launch of the token, and Julian was going to set up a company to distribute the funds to Argentinian businesses. Of course, they never got that far because 24 hours after the launch of this coin, the president of Argentina was being called a scammer, and I got a message on my phone that I didn't expect. Hi, CoffeeZilla. I'd like to talk with you about the Milei launch. I was heavily responsible for it. The initials of the person were HD. I'm guessing Hayden Davis, but I couldn't be sure. So I asked for a selfie to confirm his identity, and I did cross-reference it.
Could you imagine this guy right here is the guy that's literally like, hey,
the Milei launch, I was heavily responsible for it. The initials of the person were HD. I'm guessing Hayden Davis, but I couldn't be sure. So I asked for a selfie.
Like this dude right here, right, is responsible for, and his face is being blasted all over Argentina right now, and he's claiming that like help, I have $100 million and everybody hates me and I don't know what to do, right? But also I didn't do anything wrong, but I somehow ended up with $100 million, This is that dude that did that, right? So
to confirm his identity, and I did cross-reference it with his photo with Milei, where Milei said he was a crypto advisor. It was indeed the same person who launched the coin. Hayden explained that he'd like to execute a plan and needed my help. He said Milei and his team basically botched it, and quote, I'd like to sit down and make sure all the money that they took out gets back into people's hands correctly. Every dollar. Let me know if you'd like to interview and discuss in person. Now, I was confused why he needed me.
So, I know that poor guy, $100 million must be a huge burden to bear. Couldn't imagine it. Couldn't imagine it at all. So, we have it right here, right? Where he sought. You have to be more understanding. It's not hard to defraud people when you work in crypto. True, Catpig, true. True, very true. So now, right, now it's like he is the one that called. He's the one that found out CoffeeZilla's number and texted him. Again, he said texted him. He didn't. Can I get a 10 mil to interview Shakespeare? Hey, well, we each have our own cross to bear. His is made of solid gold, right?
In person exactly, and he explained, I'm happy to go live on an interview pending we chat beforehand. I'll even show you all the wallets pumped back into the chart live if you want.
Okay, like so I have to just say, a lot of the terminology surrounding crypto, because it's just a whole bunch of crypto bros, and it's like the way how they word things just sounds very strange. I'll put it like that. It sounds very weird. Okay? You're gonna pump what into a chart? I'm sorry. It just sounds weird to me. Like, you're gonna pump what into a chart? Like, I'll even pump it into a chart if live. Like, Excuse me? Excuse me, sir. This is a Wendy's. Like, I don't know. Just some of those terms, like, y'all gotta calm that down. Y'all gotta calm that down. Like, a lot of crypto bros are very bad at communication. Yeah, yeah. I won that, and then also, like, for them, it's like pump and dump, which is also used in another context that is also not good. So it's like, both contexts are horrible. Why use this terminology? You surely could think of something else. Yeah, pause. There's no need to pump and dump live on TV. Thank you. This is a Wendy's. We don't need you to pump and dump anything. Cash multi-sigs or wallets approximately 125 to 140 million. Wow, imagine that. I literally can't even imagine, like, earning a... Like, I don't even know. Like, to me, like, a person that makes 80K a year, that's, like... What? Like, how on earth do you even make that? Like, what is that? You know? Like, what does it mean to live? It's called being literary, Shax. Look it up, right? Okay, fine. Like... Why are it anyway? Then there's calling on other fees. Tokens, TBH, IDK, but it's probably 20 mil. Like this dude is texting CoffeeZilla, right? He paid someone to find out his number, to then text him, to then tell him all of this stuff at 10 a.m. Like, imagine, like you're sleeping, right? And like most people, you have your phone rather close to you, right? Bzz, bzz. You hear it go off, and it's like, and it's some dude that's like, hey, I want to confess on your stream. I want to work this all out, you know? No.
He had over $100 million in what he called multi-sigs, which require 2 or more people to sign on every transaction. I asked, well, who else is a signer? And he replied, quote, just me. He said, I want to do it alongside you. All I care about is knowing it's in safe hands. I don't mind turning the keys over or adding you to the multi-sigs. Translation, he wants to hand over his $100 million problem into my control. And I was thinking to myself, of course, hell no. You're not going to pass me your nightmare.
What is that? Okay, yes, I'm sorry. Just like, I'm willing to hand you the keys to the $100 million. But also, it's a thing that needs multiple people, but it doesn't because it just needs me. Seems like there's a problem there. It looks like there's a problem. I don't know.
Of course, I did say that we should talk because I had seen his recent public response.
Yeah, this was his public response, right? And again, this is literally the image that they kept putting on Argentine television. This, right? So imagine every TV channel in in a country that, a lot of people still watch TV, right? Because in America, a lot of people just like watch it on their computers, right? But you could even watch it on your computer, right? Like, imagine like you walked into a coffee shop. Maybe I should give him my number. Oh my god. Hey, I'll take those 100 million off of you, and I'll give it all to the true IRA. We'll have a united Ireland one way or another. But anyway, but no, oh, was that Lefty? Yeah, that was Lefty. But yeah, like every TV screen, right? Like like in those movies, right? The like where it's like it shows like a whole bunch of TV screens at some like imagine they all just suddenly, like in horror movies, right? Like like in horror movies where it's like they always have the like random TV store that has all the different screens going outside, and then it like ends up being the like evil person, or it shows like multiple whatever, they all become possessed, then it starts showing, like, I don't know, like, images of, like, crows and shit, right? Imagine that, but it's this dude's face, like this face right here. Like, it's just this face. Just plastered all over all the TV screens. And they don't stop. They just literally just keep talking about him and talking about him and talking about him. And then the only time that they change the picture is to show Millet, right, with his weird hair, right? And that's about it, right? Like, that's it. Like, that's literally the entire news cycle is this dude right now, the way how he looks right now with his hands like this, everything. This look. Like, they literally paused him here, as I did. And this is on every television, but it's just like horror movie television style, right? It's just everywhere, right?
And it didn't really go so well. In it, Hayden put forth his plan, where instead of trying to refund people with the $100 million he had a different idea.
What happened with Libra, I think there's many things I could say. There's only certain elements that I could control the launch.
Like, I don't know what this look is, but it's giving something. Like, I don't know, because he has that, like, haircut, like, just everything about it. Like, everything about it is just giving off something. Like, I don't know what it is, you know? Like it's not giving Asmongold's near bursting septic tank, right? But it's giving something, right?
Definitely things didn't go according to plan, but I think addressing the elephant in the room, which is in the next 24 or 48 hours, and unless somebody has a better idea, any funds that I've been able to get back in my possession from all the parties involved, I intend to put right back into the chart and either burn or lock on the liquidity side.
Right, he wants to put the money back into Libra, but this kind of creates the same problems where it's like, okay, well, this just benefits insiders and people who have tons of the token. But after watching this, I was also concerned with a different problem.
Also, like, putting it back in the chart, so, like, putting it back in the chart means I'm going to put it back into the marketplace. That's not a good idea. I'm sorry, like, I don't know why he thinks that's a reasonable idea. Like, that's a really bad idea. Like, oh, instead of giving your money back, right, that, you know, exactly the amount that you got from this huge amount of profit that there was made, right? So my YouTube just decided to update, and when I came back, I thought that was Jake Paul. Oh my god. I see that. Ah, he definitely drinks Prime, right? He definitely drinks Prime. This dude, like, literally, like, I mean, like, he has, like, an IV of Prime every morning. You know what I mean? And every night.
See, myself and the research firm Bubble Maps had been doing a lot of work tracking Melania Coin for a while. Yes, the US president's wife. She had launched a coin.
Melania. But anyway.
And we were concerned that the same wallet which launched that seemed to have also launched Libra.
Yeah, it's
Even
true.
worse, they had both been sniped by the same person who created the tokens, or the same network of wallets. Now, if you don't know what sniping is, it's where you buy a coin earlier than anyone else, at cheaper prices. Usually, you know something in advance. And not only did these connected wallets buy Melania and Libra coins early, they also sold those coins early for millions in profit. So
did he really get is his wallet literally named Def Sick? Like, or Psych, I don't know, it could be Psych, but it looks like Def Sick to me. Seriously? Seriously? Like, look, I don't want to sound like Norman Finkelstein here, but seriously, you know what I mean? He seems like one of those people who started believing the lies that, no. In his interview, he, like, at some point, he's like, we swapped, but we didn't sell. And then CoffeeZilla tells him back, so you're saying that you swapped, but you didn't sell. No, the reverse. We sold, but we didn't swap. And it's just like, bro, just choose one thing. Like, literally, choose one thing and just go with it. Otherwise, you know. But then he starts to just, like, completely be like, people are after me, right? There's something in the water that's making everybody hate me. It's turning the frogs against me, you know? Like Trump and Johnson and Putin probably do, but this is obviously pure speculation by me. Yeah, you know. Oh, and definitely Millet. I mean, like, he's the one over there, like, you know, Ayn Rand is, the Hoot night, Damel. It was good to see you. Have fun. Or, pardon me, have a good night. Buenas noches. Yeah, Malay. I mean, like, he literally thinks that the Argentine flag, instead of having, like, the sun with like, a face, it should have the face of Ayn Rand. You know what I mean? Like, I feel that. I can sense it, right? I can sense it. Because Milei is also like, the globalists, they're out there trying to stop me from having a libertarian Argentina. Although I have to say the whole libertarian thing is kind of, what's the word? In both senses of the word. Not specifically Milei. I mean, look, Milei is the one that literally dresses up as what? Mr. Dr. Libertarian? What is it? The superhero? I forget what it's called, like super liberal or whatever it is, and it's just like, oh, Mr. ANCAP or something? Yeah, I think it's Mr. ANCAP, and it's like, stop. Like, okay, like, we get it, okay? We get it that your secret celebrity crush was Ayn Rand, okay? We get it. Okay?
Now, not only was I being offered control of $100+ million from the guy who launched Argentina's coin, apparently he also launched Melania Trump's coin, possibly sniped those coins, and also sold them for millions of dollars. But, I realized it's not enough to just have blockchain evidence. There's
okay.
Coin. Apparently, he also launched Melania Trump's coin, possibly sniped those coins, and also sold them for millions of dollars. But,
look, if this, look at this, right? Okay. We have all of this here, right? Right, we have all of this here. But that does not look, right? We have all these webs here, right? We have all these links, right? Everything, right? They all go to this central place, OXCAE, right? And then it connects to these snipers, right? Because, of course, they have to name them like it's Call of Duty, right? Because that's all they do all day. Although, yeah, the I sniped so others couldn't. Yeah. No, I know that those are wallet codes. I know that Mr. ANCAP, yeah. But this one here, right, like, he chose that. I don't know, it does not look random. Like, death sick? Like, come on. There's no way he, by some, like, no. He paid to have that chosen, or whatever, I don't know.
Realized it's not enough to just have blockchain evidence. There's only one way to really know for sure. I'd have to confront Hayden directly. But given his massive legal issues that may be on the horizon, I figured there's no way he would take a call with me, though. Right?
But if you launch the coin, isn't it unfair for you to snipe the coin?
So I would say no, and I would say that for a couple different reasons.
Yep, I was wrong. He did agree to get on a call for an hour where he admitted to sniping Libra token and Melania token, later saying, though, it wasn't him directly, it may have been someone else on his team.
Most of the time when we're sniping, we're attempting to avoid other snipers getting in, right? So whether that's, and by the way, I don't...
What? This call was so... I know. Yeah, they talk... I mean, again, when you're saying that you're gonna pump and dump into a chart, okay, I'm sorry, like... That's not... Nerds wouldn't say that, okay? I'm sorry. Okay? That sounds like... there's a reason why it's a tech bro, right? Tech bro. It's, it's everybody that lives, like in Woodland Hills, and like literally the dude that wears shorts all the time. It doesn't matter if it's if it's raining because we have an atmospheric river, or whatever, right? It's like, it doesn't matter, right? They all, a buddy of mine. Like, I can already hear their voices, and I can already hear it. I can already hear what they sound like, because I know, right? Oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me, Boy Meets Smitty. They just don't understand what they say. Simply makes no sense. Yeah, when they're over here, oh, I'm gonna pump it back into the chart. Like, bro, what are you gonna do? Like, excuse me, this is a Wendy's, sir. This is a Wendy's. Okay, you don't need to be pumping anything into anything. Okay. Get your hands away from the mayonnaise, sir. Get your hands away from the mayonnaise, please. Do I trust the U.S. Federal Reserve? Of course not. Do I trust a bunch of shady companies doing Bitcoin mining in China or wherever they moved up to China, crack down more? Of course not. Yeah, now they're all just mining in the valley, it seems. Yeah, yes. My heart goes out. Actually, my heart goes out to my real nerds. Yeah, because, like... ugh, just that language. It just... totally perfect call, yeah. Like, to me, it just... I don't know, it just makes me think of, like... You know the people that ask for... Okay, so there's this... this was on YouTube Shorts, I think. But there's some guy that he goes to, like, different restaurants and asks them for, like, strange things, right? Like, like it's a burger place, and he asked them to, like, cook his burger in, like, ranch dressing. I don't know, stuff like that, right? Regardless, he went to what's the chicken place? What's the name of the chicken tender place? I think no, it wasn't. It wasn't KFC. No. Hey, wait, that's not how you do... 2 people did the Elon salute at CPEX. 2! Steve Bannon and some other dude, I don't remember his name. But 2. Popeyes? Maybe it's Popeyes? Kansas Fried Chicken, Kentucky Fried Chicken. No, I actually know of a place where it's, like, also called, like, KFC, but it's like, it's like, it's what's it called? It's like someone spelled it out the way how, I guess, like, chickens for bros. Oh my god, that sounds like a dating app they would make. Chicks for bros. Anyway, some chicken strip place, okay? I don't know. It maybe it's Popeyes, I don't remember. Point being, I mean, it maybe was Chick-fil-A, I don't even know. He asked for Alfredo sauce. The best KFC says Kerala fried chicken. You all know on Reddit. Hey, I believe you. I take your word, right? But he asked for Alfredo sauce on his tendies. Okay, that's what he asked for. Alfredo sauce, and I'm like, and they're like looking at him like, Alfredo. Did bro want the Italian mafia after it? Crunchies cost like half the money for better food. Oh my god. So they're like, we don't have any Alfredo sauce, sir. This is not an Olive Garden. You're not family, you know. But we'll try to find you something. And so they gave him like a kid's cup, right? Which is like what, like it's like 8 ounces or something. I'm memeing, of course, but also not. They make very good spicy chicken. Oh gosh, I'm getting hungry now. Unfortunately, there's no Crunchies in Germany, but we do have it in an Arabic-speaking place here called Furat. Oh, okay. So they're like, okay, we will find. You're not family. Yeah. You never go against the family. Never, you know. And in this case, you're not family. We're not an Olive Garden. So they're like, okay, we'll try to substitute it with something, right? And we'll try to, you know. So what they do is, because it's like a place that it's obviously like in like I don't know. It looks like it could be like anywhere USA, like somewhere in the Midwest or something. I don't know, because it's a whole bunch of like teenagers working there. And so what they did is they got a kids cup, right? And they filled it up with half mayonnaise, half with their fry sauce or whatever it is, their other dipping sauce. Mix it together and just gave him that. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll take this." But I'm just like, you still went in there asking for Alfredo sauce. And now they give you half mayonnaise, half whatever the other sauce is, their dipping sauce, and it's just like, they just gave it to you. Because they were like, actually, we have to take this order seriously. Black chicken tenders with Alfredo would be pretty good. Yeah, no. I mean, I'm sure it would. I'm sure it would be good. Like if you were to, be making it, right, and you were to put, some Italian spices and stuff like that and make it really nice, do some light breading, right, and instead of using the typical, right, don't even use like Italian breadcrumbs. Use panko, right? This is a tip. Use panko, right? Because then it makes it extra crispy, right? And then, when you add in like the spice mix and everything, and you mix it with the panko and the everything, then when you cook it, right? Then it comes out. This is how Tegulu people do fried chicken. Let's see. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. The South Indian method of stir fry takes in common ingredients which are easily available in every household. Chicken is stir fried in spices until it gets soft, and all the spices are coated well to the chicken piece. Yeah, it's like that. Chicken curries, prawn fry, antra fish, chicken liver fry, chopped onions, gravy, you saying? I had this in Hyderabad. Yeah, Tamil fried chicken is also made in a similar way. Like, the way so in Mexico, you can we don't really do fried chicken. I'm not saying we don't have fried chicken, right? But we do grilled chicken. That is the thing we do. And it's like, but there's like a particular style, which is the state of Nayarit, which, if I were to transition, is, so here's Jalisco, which is, most people know, like, has, where tequila comes from, where mariachis come from, blah, blah. But the state next to it, Nayarit, their grilled chicken, oh my goodness, like Nayarit style fried chicken, or grilled chicken, I should say, is really good. Like they spatchcock it, right? And then they put it right on they grill it, but they have these like little kind of like the ones for fish, right? But these are for the chicken, but first they layer it with all of the spices, right? And everything, so that then, like, while it's cooking and it's like getting cooked and everything, right? It's first cooking on the bottom, right? So that way it's cooking, the interior, right? But then that way it's like the stuff that drips down, right? It gets absorbed in, and then when you do turn it around, right? It's for a shorter period of time. And so then it just gets the skin, right? So that way when you eat it, it has a little bit of that crunch. It's very good. My long BFF dips her fries in mayo. Well, I'm hungry. I know. I know I'm getting hungry too.
Snipes. However, I then got an interview with another insider in these coins who says that Hayden does snipe tokens personally. How does he know? Well, he claims he's seen it before. He was in the room with Hayden when it happened on another project called Enron Token, which you might not be surprised to realize I've also covered in another video.
Just introduce yourself real quick for everyone who doesn't know you.
Also, like, who would buy in on something called Enron? Can I just, like, I just gotta say, like, of all the things, why Enron? Right? And what would compel someone to, like, I don't know.
I'm the founder of DeFi Tuna. We're just providing leverage for liquidity providers. That's pretty much us. So I was part of the Enron project launch. I come in, there's this hookah bar where everyone's smoking hookah. And I see on the far...
No way. Smoking hookah in a hookah bar? Never heard of that. Never seen that. No way.
And there's a bodyguard and their whole family sitting down. Gideon, Hayden, across is Dr. Tom, daughters, and then his sons. And they're all about to launch Enron. They have like 10 minutes before the launch, they all...
Okay, if the father and the mother are there and they have their daughters and sons, this sounds like a family outing. Why are they doing crypto as a family outing? I'm sorry. Sorry kids. This Friday, for this Shabbos dinner, we're actually gonna go snipe some Enron coin. The new Enron feels like such a scam, not the actual company, right? Like, it makes the actual company seem legitimate in some way. Oh gosh.
Have snipers ready with a contract address on the snipers. Sniper bots. They're like all waiting. They're all, smoke coming out of their ears. They're all smoking like crazy on caffeine. The token launches and everyone's pressing.
Wait, so are they bots or are they people? This is another thing. Is like you can't use bot and then be like smoke's coming out of their ears. They're pressing the buttons. They're hyped on caffeine. Yes, the only snipers I appreciate are clippers. That's right. Like, Fancy Philippe. That's true. Like, are we talking about... Like, you're literally describing a family outing at a hookah bar. Which... Which, I mean, okay.
Pricing. And the wonderful thing was this. I'm looking at it, and they're like, oh, somebody got just before us, and and everyone's just arguing between each other, but they all still got earlier, and they're still in a plus, and they're like, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's like a junkie house.
This interview was crazy. I remember
this family outing at a hookah bar to pump and dump crypto is like a trap house. Oh god. Oh god. When you're here, your family, right? Like, oh my god. Oh gosh, this is just ridiculous. It's like a junkie house. Why? You literally said that there was the Dr. Tom with his sons and his daughters. And you got... Oh my god. If only CPS were actually legitimate when it came to this stuff, because I don't know. Oh gosh, I don't know what to do in this case. Like, there's a problem. So what do you do to spend time with your kids? We go snipe crypto. We go sniping together. Oh gosh.
the guy we're talking about, this junkie house, is also the person who launched the president's wife's meme coin and then the Argentina's president's meme coin. It's insane. In the case of the Melania coin specifically, side note, the co-founder of our whistleblower actually says he was ordered to like sell these coins, but you know, do it in such a way where it's not illegal because no one will know.
And they were saying everything's legal, everything is good as long as and nothing can be tracked. That was
yes.
Is one of the best liquidity providers that I know. I've seen it or heard of. He understands at very deep level. You know, he's done an excellent job, but one thing that they kept against him is the fact that he didn't sell on the top and he cost them millions of dollars. You know, up until even some recent discussions, like I have proof that they just keep bringing the subject up. Yeah, great, but he didn't sell. Melania cost us millions.
Yeah. At the top. That's right. Supposedly, this guy got berated for, you know, costing the millions of dollars by not selling at the tippity top. So, you know, I did ask Hayden about profiting from Melania token, and here's where we had a bit of a confusion on what...
Families that snipe together stay together, right? I'm just so concerned about this family outing. Like, I'm just like, what on earth? What, like, why? You know, and the worst thing about crypto, right, is that it never shuts down, right? You know, like for the stock market, right? It runs from, what is it? Is it 9 o'clock to 4:30 or something like that? It's something like that, right? So sweet, Lefty, right? It's something along those lines, right? Like the New York Stock Exchange, right? It's closed for major holidays, whatever. Crypto never shuts down. So like, if there are people that are really honed in on this, right? They can look at the valorization of their, or the value, I guess, of the coin go up and down constantly, all the time, right? They're trading before or after the market. There's trading, yeah. That is true. That is true. That is true. But it doesn't happen, like the volume of trade is not mostly post or pre-market, right? There are, like, for example, if you're if you have a brokerage account, right? Yeah, well, it's like if you have a brokerage account, right? Like, you personally cannot trade outside of normal trading hours, right? Like, because it has to, like, only when the market day close, whatever it closes at, that's what you, like, if you sell a position, that's what you get. Or if you're buying, right, then you can only do so once the market has opened for, the next day. Whether you're gonna, with puts and calls and all that other stuff, I mean, there's so many other things as well, right, that sort of comes into play, right, like derivatives and such. And but like for the average person, I would say, usually during normal market hours, or normal trading hours, right, like from, what is it, I think it's like 9 to 4:30 or something like that, but I could be wrong. I think it might be less, or regardless, most of it happens in that time period. That's the vast volume of trade, right? But the after hours trading and the pre-hours trading, that's, that is done, but how much of that is done by institutional investors, etc., that's the question, because like the average brokerage account can't do trades after or before the markets begins. Although, like, you can sell, right, like let's say you sell after the market closes on Friday, then on Monday morning when it closes again, then you'll get whatever that price is. So you can have it pending, technically. But anyway.
Exactly we meant by, like, did you swap it? Did you sell it? I didn't swap it. I just sold it.
There was no money made from the Melania team on any. We didn't take any liquidity out. Zero.
You said y'all didn't sell any liquidity, but
Didn't swap liquidity. Didn't swap liquidity. Didn't swap into.
See, this was what I was saying earlier. This is exactly what I said earlier. Alright, and yes, if you'd like to help me out with my research, you can always go to my throne, either give to my moving fund, or sponsor one of the books that I would need for my research. That, or you can, of course, subscribe on Twitch for $5.99 or $6.99 if you're doing it on mobile to get out of the outbreak. But you see, he says we sold. Now he's saying we didn't swap, we sold. But now he's like, we didn't sold, we swapped. Now we're saying we didn't swap, we sold. So it's like literally, like, look, we'll go back. Oh wait.
There was no money made from the Melania team on any. We didn't take any liquidity out. Zero.
You said y'all didn't sell any liquidity, but
Didn't swap liquidity. Didn't swap liquidity. Didn't swap into single-sided. I didn't say there was no money sold. There's a difference between swapping the liquidity and selling liquidations. Those are two different things.
Okay, so y'all swapped, you didn't sell, or the other way around?
No, other way around. Other way around.
Sold, you didn't.
See? Like, he just said. He literally just said about swapping. And then he's like, but we sold.
Swapped.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Two independent pieces of evidence from people who were on the inside of the Melania token, saying that Hayden and his team sniped tokens and wanted to dump for high profit secretly, while Hayden himself does admit that they, sold. They just didn't swap. Of course, I also obtained insider texts from Hayden Davis and his team on another project, this one called Mates, where an insider asked the following, quote, you want continued pump or you want to distribute all Mates tokens?
Look, okay, I'm sorry. Look, they gotta change these words. I'm sorry. You want continue pump or you want to distribute all Mates ASAP? Okay, that sounds like some, I don't know. I don't know what it sounds like, but it sounds something wrong. I'll say, that's all I'm saying. I'm just playing, but I'm saying, this does not sound good. This does not, this here does not sound good. You want continue pump? Like, excuse me, this is a Wendy's. This is literally a Wendy's. And also Mates, it screams something. I don't know what, but
ASAP, aka sell. Hayden replies, we are trying to max extract on this one. That max extraction supposedly led to 7,000 Solana, or roughly $1.3 million.
Is Solana another cryptocurrency? Because I think it is, right? I know some of them, but they make so many that, and I don't know which ones are like, I don't know. Pump mates, right? So friends with benefits. I know, I'm like, excuse me, you need to and also why call it mates? Like, of all things, yeah, we're gonna pump mates tonight. As a fan. No. Just, no.
I do personally believe a lot of this is probably illegal. Whether it will be prosecuted, though, by our gutted regulators is another matter entirely.
Yeah, because Elon is literally like, what if we were to deregulate everything? What if everything just regulated itself? Like, cryptocurrencies are... What if we just thought of... What if cryptocurrencies are sentient? And we just don't... Cryptocurrencies are sentient. And... they can actually regulate themselves. We have to run that experiment. Because, I'm Elon Musk. And I approve this message.
Right now, we seem to be in a race in America to deregulate cryptocurrency, meaning behavior like this is unlikely to ever be punished. For now, I just want to show people that these meme coins are deeply rigged financial vehicles for screwing regular people and transferring...
Okay, saying just meme coins is acting like the ones that are not meme coins. They're all meme coins, sir. This is a Wendy's. We don't take any coins like that. No crypto coins. All the coins are bad. All of them. Okay? Never go against the family. Okay? Crypto is not the family. It's not family here. This ain't an Olive Garden. Okay? Who needs DEI when you got DeFi? Oh my gosh. like this is literally at this point this is what capitalism is now. Just financial vehicles for screwing regular people. That's literally where we're at right now. That's just the whole system right now.
Wealth to the top, to the insiders, and people like Hayden, they're everywhere in this industry. I should also mention, while I'm on the subject,
I think to me, we should just call them Haydens, right? We should just call them Haydens from now on. Right? All of the people at the top. Oh yeah, the Haydens. Right? Because it almost sounds unassuming, right? Oh, the Haydens, But to never let Hayden Davis forget.
by the way, that it's not always the people themselves, it's also the platforms that sometimes are part of this. Platforms that launch meme coins obviously benefit from trading volume instead of price, meaning even if you lose, they make tons of money. And it's been a suspicion of a lot of people that some of them may play a role in some of these insider launches. Today, though, we got a little bit of evidence. In my investigations, one platform kept coming up, Meteora. They launched Trump Coin, Melania Coin, Libra, and many others on their platform. And they were crucial to giving...
Isn't it strange that two heads of state and the head of state's wife had quote-unquote meme coins come out of one place and they were all scams? But we don't think of the Trump ones as scams, apparently. Right? I don't know. Wait, what's this? I'm Elon Musk, and I approve this message. This is great. This is great. Make sure to like and subscribe. Pin it, where? Pin it where? Philippe, on YouTube, you mean? Also, make sure to join the Discord because that's where you get access to our history reading group, which happens every Saturday. Except this Saturday, I decided to just let it go because a lot of the people that usually show up were all busy. So, but if you'd like to take part in it, we read historical texts, historiographical texts. It's not over the top stuff. It's fine. So don't worry about that. But you can join that. But most importantly, you can join our community night, where you can join us when we discuss and watch films and do other stuff, play video games, etc. So do make sure to join the Discord. So let's see here.
Hayden Davis tons of business through his company Kelsier. Meteora's CEO Ben Chow describes it as, I do know the Kelsier team well. Now, they were confronted about the fact that Kelsier and Hayden were sniping their own tokens, and Ben said, well, he had no idea. He's shocked by it. This clip is a little long, but it's worth it.
Kelsier is very much affiliated with M3M3 with everything. You know, it's very close.
Bro, you need to clean your computer screen. My gosh, what is this? I don't even want to know what this stuff is. Oh god, I don't even want to know. I don't want to know. Who needs DEI when you've got DeFi? Oh, okay, I see. Like what? Like bro, like I don't even like how did like this looks like it's on the other side of the glass at this point. Like I don't know if he has like those things to be like, you know, that way people can't look at your screen. But like, bro, you need to clean this up. Like I don't know what on earth you got going on. But you got to clean this up. Like this is just nasty. I mean, this looks like Mewtwo was trying to like get out of the screen. I'm just like, you know, because Mewtwo only has the 3. I don't know.
To be there and just see how. Sorry, but like,
actually no. Please tell me because actually I don't know this.
Like I'm sitting down and I'm seeing everyone's got their phone. Everyone knows the contract address. Like Gideon, Hayden, Dr. Tom. Everyone's sitting at the table and they're all with their phones. They all have snipe bots ready. They all have all the CA.
They're all sniping it. It's them sniping.
But Ben, it's not only that. There is even. I'm 100% sure that it's also Jake involved. Everyone's involved. I'm sure the influencers involved. Look.
Me. Oh my god.
And like there are people that bypass them, like do it faster than them, and it's like Look, the whole thing just looks rotten to the very core.
Yeah, I really don't know if this guy is genuinely reacting or this is like some kind of Oscar award-winning performance. Like, what? No way. I had no idea. The people I've been handing business to have been sniping our own tokens. No idea. Meanwhile, I asked Hayden directly if Bin Chao would have known these snipes were happening. He responded, quote, I would say he wouldn't have been surprised, but he wouldn't have been involved. Now, that's interesting, and if it's true, it would mean that Bin's shocked reaction to this project sniping itself would be a little hard to believe. Meanwhile, by the way, Hayden Davis also doesn't really take credit for some of this. He implies that the Melania team itself was part of the reason they decided to snipe the coin.
Were you part of the Melania launch, and was that sniped as well?
I mean, look, I think that I told you like beforehand before this started. I'm happy to share the truth, but I mean, you're asking a question that's it's just, I mean, I'll answer, but it's factually going to put me into a lot of
then
things,
answer.
which is fine. I'll answer.
Then answer.
I think the team did want to snipe it because of how big the snipe was on Trump's.
So let me get this straight. Bin Chao has no idea. It wasn't Hayden's idea. Can the real sniper please stand up? All of these people just deny. Either way, though, Bin Chao agreed that the Libra situation in particular was so bad that he would have to step down from the company, regardless of whether he knew, because he called it SBF level, as in Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX.
This is like 200. This is FTX type of.
Fucking hell, man. I feel sick. I feel so sick, man. Holy shit.
I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure when he said Oscar winning, I'm pretty sure that was a joke, because this is very like, I feel very, very sick indeed. Yes, Batman, I will immediately go to the Hall of Rectitude, like.
I feel really, really sick. Oh my god.
This is like Doc One or what's his name type of money. I mean,
This is SBF level, man. I feel so sick. Because I gave him Melania. I didn't know he was a rugger. I feel so sick.
It is. Crypto and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race.
I feel like I'm super exposed too.
One might be tempted to say.
Because I enabled a guy I should not have enabled.
But not me. That is not a quote of mine. That is merely me considering a quote that someone might say.
I'm gonna have to step down.
You know, I do have to agree with Bin Chao here. This is starting to make me feel sick too. Not because my platform enabled millions of dollars to be, quote, max extracted from retail, but because most people buying these coins have no idea.
Okay, look, if you're talking about max extracting a pump, I'm sorry, that just sounds wrong. Okay? Y'all gotta change those terms, okay? This should not be taken seriously if you're using things like that. Max extract pumping, like, no. Sorry. Take a couple steps back and just... Enough, please. Enough.
Idea how corrupt these launches are, with manipulative market making, sniping insider selling.
Manipulative markets? That definitely would never happen under capitalism, now would it?
The deck is just totally stacked against you as a regular person. But don't take my word for it. Hayden, the guy we've been talking to, who literally runs these things, agrees.
It is an insider's game. This is an unregulated casino. Like, if you're a retail trader thinking you're going to go make millions off of meme coins, you better study your off.
Well, honestly, I do appreciate his honesty. It's an insider's game, and as the saying goes, it's a big club, and you're...
Yeah, that's literally called capitalism. To me, the extracting part balances it out, but maybe I got... Well... Maybe, I don't know. I mean, like, maybe it, like, I don't know. Maybe for some people it sounds mechanical, right? Like, oh, it makes it sound more mechanistic that way, right? Like, oh, it's something very formal, right? Like, you know, like, more like formal mechanic, so to speak, right? You know, and they perhaps wanted to seem as though, I don't know, but I don't know. There's just something about all of this. It's just very, I don't know.
We're not in it. Speaking of that, by the way, there was
Also, yeah, the big club. That's just called capitalism. That, like, literally, I'm sorry, just like all of it is just capital. I don't like. The only difference is the legitimization of this, right? Whether or not it's given legitimacy by capitalists right now, and it is being given legitimacy over time, right? Like now there are, right, like ETFs, right, that are from like Charles Schwab, J.P. Morgan, right? Like all of these investment banks, right? That are based in crypto, but they're not any less volatile, right? It's just that they tend to, like, if the crypto bros are both pumping and extracting, it feels more balanced. Ah, yes, I see. It balances out.
person so far who has been refunded their losses in this whole debacle, Dave Portnoy. Dave was going to do an insider deal with Libra token for free.
No. The way how it says his name. Oh gosh. Well, you know, at least it's being honest about the man.
Tokens where he tweeted about the coin. That deal was canceled though because Hayden told him basically not to tell anyone about the free coins, and Dave disagreed with that. But Dave did put $5 million of his own dollars in the coin.
This is the guy that got refunded. This is the guy that got refunded. The guy that was like, "Oh, what do you mean you don't want me to tell people about the free coins? What do you mean you don't want me to?"
Of obviously making money like everyone else, but when the coin crashed, he lost almost everything. Behind the scenes, though, Dave got bailed out. Hayden Davis gave him his money back, which Dave has admitted publicly. So
this guy that put in $5 million got back $5 million. But he doesn't know, Hayden doesn't know what to do with the other $100 million. Because he can't just refund it, of course. Because that would be, you know, against the spirit of, I don't know, Argentina? I don't know.
So, I guess, you know, for the big traders who are celebrities, they get their money back, roughly $5 million back, because I guess they're real victims. But refunding everyone who lost money, that's an insane idea.
Whether I refund people, they're still going to be pissed, right? Refund people on a meme coin, which sounds insane.
That does not sound insane. I don't know why they would be upset. Like, I'm trying to think of what's going through this through Hayden's mind right now, to try to make up this situation. If I were to correct the wrong that I did, people would be pissed off at me, if not more. Excuse me, in what world do we live in that where people, like, if you keep the money, people are getting more pissed by the day? That's the reason why every channel in Argentina, right? Like, even, I kid you not, like, even you know, like like it's kind of like PBS, but in Argentina they have like a PBS that's like exclusively, you know, dedicated for like older people, right? So it's like, you know, instead of having a lot of kids shows, it has a lot of shows for the elderly, right? Like, even they were talking about Hayden. Hayden Davis está allá haciendo algo que tenemos que... Fue una estafa. Todo esto que el Milei, lo que estaba haciendo, era todo una estafa. You know, like, bro, if you got geriatric PBS, you know, going after you, you gotta refund people. Okay, people are not gonna be mad at you if you give them back their money. People are gonna be mad at you if you keep making up these excuses, though. Refund on a meme coin? That sounds insane. Oh, refunds. Oh, never.
Or I inject back. People are going to be mad either way.
Instead,
Why would you put the money back into the volatile market? Then people, if they know when that money's going to be injected, could get money. I don't better PR. He should have just donated the money to random people and said, "Look at me, I'm Robin Hood." I mean, honestly, at this point, at this point, if he's still in Argentina, I'm not saying anything. If he's still in Argentina, don't cry for him, okay?
the current plan is to once again dump the money back in the chart, which will disproportionately benefit insiders who know the timing. And what
I just said that. I have not watched this video. Like I actually watched the interview first. That's what I watched. I didn't watch this one, so. And see that, chat? Hello, Energy Flow. Welcome in, welcome in. It's good to see you. Hope you're doing well.
What about Javier Milei? Can't forget about him. The president of Argentina is currently facing charges of fraud from the opposition party and threats of impeachment. Today, Milei finally addressed the Libra token and said the following.
Falso, yo difundí.
I broadcasted it, I didn't recommend it, I didn't promote it. The reality is, if you go to the casino and lose money, what is the claim? It is about 5,000 people. And surely the chance that they are Argentinians is very remote.
Argentinos es muy, muy remota.
Well, there you go. Pretty much your standard
Wait a You know what? If I were an Argentine and I just had my own, like, do you realize what he just said about his own countrymen right now? What he said about his own people. Like, just think about it for 1 second. The chances of it being Argentine, the people that invested in this, what does that mean? Mr. Oh, I've changed the whole economy. We've completely changed everything. It came to her and she was like, okay, let's see the whole board focus. And then right at the end. Like, he just called his whole country, like, it's like, yes, my whole country. There's no way that Argentines could ever invest in a meme coin. Ah, gosh.
denial. I didn't do it, and if I did, they deserved it. And if they didn't deserve it, well, they weren't Argentinian anyways. One thing I will be clear about, though, is that all of the insiders I've spoken to so far claim that Milei himself made no money from this project. It was these other people who had access that were selling access to.
Look, I really, like, I'm gonna keep the Discord updated on what happens to Milei, because if he gets impeached, oh gosh, it's gonna be like, imagine that trial, because he's so theatrical. He's so theatrical. I mean, just right now in the interview, BE is gonna call you about Evita later. Well, if B is going to call me about anything, can he at least just say that when I asked him for bibliographic, help, that he didn't need to be that mean to me? Like, I literally just wanted bibliographic help. But anyway, literally was looking for sources, but, but that trial, I mean, y'all saw the interview. Like, the way how he just, you know what I mean? Like, he just, it's gonna be great.
To him. Whether you believe that is another matter entirely. But what is abundantly clear is that this was a massive failure for Argentina as a whole. It's an embarrassing situation where Milei allowed a 26-year-old to collect $100 million off his name, purporting to be for small businesses. And that's...
That's literally what capitalism does all the time, though. I don't know why. Like, I see, like, they're saying, "Oh, this is bad because the 26-year-old blah blah blah." Yeah, what about Baron Trump starting a luxury real estate business from the bottom, right? From scratch, right? Oh, he's starting it. Yeah, because Baron Trump has the on his own recognizance was able to get all of the money to start a luxury real estate company, all on his own, of course. But it's only a small loan of,
Same person sniped the coin as well, Melania's coin, Enron, and many others. Or his team did, or a team told him to. It's so far unclear, but the sniping itself is uncontested, as testified by Hayden Davis himself and an insider who was in the room. In the aftermath, there are possible impeachments, people possibly stepping down from their company, and millions of dollars in damages. And that is the story of the Argentinian meme coin disaster.
What? No way. Since recording, the following text leaked from Hayden Davis. Bro, you've got to be kidding me. In the interview, he's like praising him, like as though he was like the god of capitalism. But what the fuck? What the fuck, man? His sister. My gosh, that's... Assumed it went without saying, but felt the need to add that anyway. Right, yeah, of course, yeah. Jeez, but him and his sister, I mean, they're like this, but they really shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like, it's a creepy closeness. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, so with that, like, I don't know, maybe it's just okay, so let's see here. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining me for today's stream. I have to get going. I'm actually really hungry after all of that food talk that we had. I'm actually like, okay, I actually want to make something. So I'm gonna head out to make some food and also feed the puppies. Thank you again. Thank you so much, Boy Meets Minnie. It was very nice spending time with you. I hope to see you all again very soon. Again, make sure to join the Discord. I'm usually in there most days, co-working, etc. But until next time, see y'all soon. If everybody on Twitch could get in the machine so we could head on over to the domain. Make sure to tell them hello. And yeah, see y'all soon.